You hear me okay?
Sorry, what?
No, you hear me okay?
Yeah, I heard you before. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Good. Going back. How are you this morning?
Well, I'm okay, but we got our tax bill yesterday. I'll text it to you.
This for you or this for us?
No. We're fine. We
Yeah,
make
that's what I thought.
we make
6
stuff.
cents.
Yeah.
Uh,
Sup, Ambien? Morning, AJC. Harry sounds like he's quoting rap lyrics. And no, Felipe's flight was canceled. No. Mm-hmm.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Top of the morning to you. We're over the hump. We can almost see the finish line from here. Hope your week is going well. How the heck are you? Miller and Moulton here on the Florida Sports Network. FloridaSportsNetwork.com. Thanks so much for being with us. Another terrific show lined up for you. Top of the morning to you, Mark.
morning, David.
You know, for some reason, this week seems like a long week to many people I know. My wife and I both were acting like this morning was Friday and last night was Thursday night. The friends that I've texted with have literally talked, and I'm like, no, that's Friday. Tomorrow's Thursday. And they're like, oh, wow. I thought tomorrow was Friday. It feels to many in my circle, Mark, as if this is a long week.
It's the longest week I've had in quite a while.
Maybe it has something to do with taxes.
Taxes, and in my case, I'm not used to doing other people's jobs for them. And I'm still doing other people's jobs for them, even though I was not supposed to be doing other people's jobs for them today.
Right. Who knew that flooding on the east coast of Florida would impact flights all over the country? But for those wondering, young Felipe not with us today.
And may never be with us again.
No. Just
I've reached my limit.
Here's how bad it got. So he's, undergoing the travel situation. We've all been
whatever. You know what? I think it's a new excuse. I think he booked the vacation for one more day and said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to say the flight was canceled. Flights get canceled all the time. What are they going to do? Because I got a funny feeling he ain't going to be here tomorrow either. That's my prediction.
Well, I think he will. I think he will. I think this is a legitimate travel.
I don't buy it for a minute.
Apparently his flights were booked in and out of Fort Lauderdale. And well, Moses built an ark there late yesterday afternoon, early evening. And so, that causes problems. So his inbound flights were canceled. And so apparently he's able to get in, this afternoon into Fort Lauderdale. But here's, I can only imagine how he feels. He's sending us texts going, guys, running into a travel situation. The storms in Fort Lauderdale, last part of our flight, we can't get back. Flight's been delayed twice. I'll keep you posted, but I may not be there tomorrow. Neither one of us respond.
And still haven't.
And so then Mark just gave away the ending of the movie. So then when he lets us know flight canceled, rescheduled for, should get back into the 239, after dinner on Thursday, nothing. Zip, zilch, not a syllable, not a sound, not a thought, nothing from either one of us.
Right. His flight gets in Sunday night.
No, it does not.
It might as well.
No, come on now. Come on now. It's not like we got a whole bunch of people banging on the door going, you know what I'd like to do?
I figured this out.
Oh, I know. Hey.
He's not needed anymore.
Well, he is needed. We're changing his job. See, that's something he doesn't realize. We changed his job while he went away. He's going to come back. He's going to, he's going to meet with a consultant. All right. His job's going to be totally different. He's going to have to work. It's going to be a shock to the system. It is, but he won't be falling asleep anymore. I can promise that. So that's, eventful behind the scenes going on here on Miller and Moulton, but the total silent treatment. What do you think the employees thinking when the bosses don't respond?
Full on ghosting.
Listen, I'm running into travel difficulty. I'll keep you posted. Nothing.
Full on ghosting, and so much ghosting that Miller and Moulton texted about the fact they were doing it to one another. And we don't talk. We ghost each other from 10:01 until 6 a.m. the next morning on purpose.
I think I saved a response, though. You know how Herm Edwards says, don't press send? All right. I text Mark, apparently while Mark was in the process of sending a glorious response. And I text back and simply said, I'm not even going to respond to this, which I guess got Mark thinking. So he looked at my response and looked at his response, and I think went back and forth for a little while and finally went, oh, all right. Because your response Well, Katie bar the door. That was, no reason even coming back to the area code. I mean, not only have you been fired, all your stuff's on the lawn. I mean, Mark was like relocating him.
Well, I had thought, because typically he beats me here by 5 or so minutes every morning.
Mm-hmm.
I had thought about talking to the powers that be in this building and seeing if we could get his key card to not work. So when I get here tomorrow morning, he would just be standing there at the door, and I would have to tell a couple other people in the building on it,
right,
so that they just don't answer the door, because he'd be beating on it, and they'd say, "I don't know what to tell you. If your key card doesn't work, you can't come in."
Yeah, that's a message in the business. That's our way of communicating.
So that was I didn't know how far I wanted to take this. And I will say, if we get the similar text tomorrow, because this vacation actually is through the weekend, which I believe it is, because no one takes a vacation from a Wednesday. That's the other thing. Who takes a vacation from a Wednesday to a Wednesday?
Well, so it's a family vacation. The parents booked it. Basically they picked the days and they picked the site, and I'm guessing they paid for it.
Well, of course they did.
Right.
But,
so, you're at the mercy of, of the wallet, aren't we all? So that's what we got going on here. I almost responded, because he's in a city that has direct flights to Southwest Florida.
Bingo.
Many, in fact, daily. And so I almost responded when he was beginning the, hey, we're having trouble getting back from, and I'm like, well, you can fly back direct.
I thought that too, and left it out, because at that point, David, the Rays were on, and everything had ended in my life. It was just time to watch Rays baseball.
12, baby. We're at 12.
That's it.
The 87 Brewers are on the clock. They started 13-0. We're going after them. The season's 2 weeks old. You know how many losses the Rays have? As many as you do. 0, zilch, nada. You know how many losses they have? As many shows as Felipe's worked in the last week. 0, zilch, nada.
As many as 9 seeds have won.
In fact, I don't even know off the top of my head. Probably should, hosting a sports show and all that. Trying to think. Rays play tonight?
It's afternoon.
The Rays play this afternoon?
Yes. Finishing up 4 with Boston.
Well, here's the deal then. Okay. Do we make Felipe's return dependent on the Rays? Because if the Rays lose, we can blame that on Felipe and say, listen, sorry, we had to make a change.
If the Rays win, the streak continues.
Right.
And why would we bring back Felipe?
Well, because the streak started with Felipe. I mean, it did.
Yeah, but the streak, with him leaving and the streak continuing, it has nothing to do with Felipe. That we know. If they lose, it will be his fault. If they win,
I think you're a little biased right now in your approach. I think you're wanting a certain result, and you're wording the question in a way so that you can only get said result.
It seems logical at this point.
Kind of like, A, the customer's always right. B, when the customer's wrong, revert back to rule number 1. So 12-0, baby. 12-0.
Had to work for it a little bit last night.
Yeah, it was actually a game. Yeah. Big lead early. Red Sox cut it to 1. Bullpen actually had to go out in a pressure situation last night. How about that? Kevin Cash must felt like last night was a spring training game. Kind of like late in March. They're like, it was nice that we had to put the bullpen out there in a one-run situation. See how they handle it. We haven't had a lot of those here in March. I mean, April. 12-0. Sweep, sweep, sweep. First 3 in a 4-game series against the Red Sox. Don't you have to bet the Red Sox today? Right? No?
I don't blank with a winning streak. I think you just have to stay away.
I mean, the Rays are minus 225. 225. Jeffrey Springs, who's yet to give up a run in 13 innings this year, against Corey Kluber, who's thrown glorified batting practice, the former Ray. It's what we have to look forward to this afternoon. It's the highlight of my day, by the way. Afternoon baseball. It's going to be glorious.
Yes, it is. And don't act like it's nothing short of terrific.
No. I may even go to an establishment that serves alcoholic beverages. No. No, I'm treating today like a Friday. It's been a long week. Got my tax bill yesterday. Trust me. I'm finding a drink.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
I'm guessing a lot of you are in the same mode as Mr. Moulton, that you may need a drink with tax season. Hopefully, your returns are better than some of ours.
Yes. I'm hoping all of your returns are better. Every single one of you. Apparently, there was a miscalculation.
I hate it when that happens.
I know, because they never seem to benefit the taxpayer. Huh. It's funny how that works.
We hope our returns pay off today. Dalton Miller will join the show to talk some football. Keith Smith to talk NBA, and Edgar Thompson to talk all thing Gators in their new collective. Miller and Moulton, thanks for listening right here on the Florida Sports Network. It's WFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again,
Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
ma'am, if your party's not here, you're gonna have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Ouch.
Wow. Yeah. That was
Duh. No, he didn't. I thought he pitched pretty well.
Yeah, it's a decent lineup. It got to go through. Got the win. Nice to get some run support.
Man, are they hitting. Wander Franco is something to watch. Because I'm doing his job, Ambient Heat. Really simple. He left for a week vacation and didn't get a replacement, which is his number one priority. I like him a lot. I like him immensely. But he didn't put his job first, and that really pisses me off. Really pisses me off, Ambient Heat. No, I'd want the Bruins as late as I could get them.
Yeah, hoping for
they get banged up. I mean,
right, an injury, hoping that, maybe their goaltending doesn't hold up, hoping that maybe they get upset. Yeah.
I'm not even sure I'm going to be in town the night of the draft, so I'm probably saying no to a Twitch show.
Okay.
I'll still do the show Friday, but I think I'm going to be in Palm Beach that weekend.
Okay, cool. Your buddy?
Yeah, and our other 2 college roommates were all going for the weekend, the 4 of us.
Although I have to admit, and believe me, I do not want you to do it, but could you imagine if you actually did the show with you and your 3 buddies? Absolutely ripped. Guys, the Bucks are on the clock. Moulton, who are they taking?
Will Levis sucks. All right, I'm flipping it back.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"21 minutes past the hour, top of the morning to you. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Dalton Miller to join us a little more than an hour. Get our fix with the good folks at Pro Football Network. NBA playoffs, Mark, are very much underway. How about the road teams going 3-1 in the play-in games? And heck, the one loss was in overtime. So
yeah, a couple of 10 seeds winning last night.
Yeah.
Which doesn't ever happen.
Coming from behind to do it in both cases. Bulls in the fourth quarter, Thunder in the third quarter. How about that?
Toronto gave that game away last night.
Well, and that could lead, not that, anybody listening cares about the Raptors, but if by chance you do, that could lead to a bit of, an organizational cleaning house here. The head coach, Nick Nurse, he was talking in the final couple of weeks as if, maybe my run here is up. He's got a year left on his contract, so they may agree to go their separate ways. And then, you start looking into whether or not they're going to trade some of their nucleus, Van Fleet and what have you.
Well, they were a team that was talked about making a ton of moves at the deadline and ended up standing pat and trying to make a run with their current roster. So
Right.
it is a team that when you look in the offseason for teams that are trying to make deals, Miami, maybe Toronto is a team that you could work with to try to get something done.
The Heat are going to host the Bulls tomorrow night. Winner advances, loser goes home. They'll advance as the 8 seed to get a first-round matchup with the Bucks. Now, nobody thinks either one of these teams will have a whole lot for Milwaukee, although Chicago has been interesting since the deadline. They made a couple deals at the deadline. They played a lot better and obviously able to go on the road and win last night. But, the Heat situation, I did, and we're going to have Keith Smith coming up at the top of our 8 o'clock hour. Mark, it's as bad as we actually portrayed it to be yesterday. I mean, others in the NBA, I was listening to them, I was reading their work, and they're kind of like, Miami's in a more than a pickle. They're in a spot. They're not good. And they have virtually nobody that anybody wants except for their 3 best players. And why would they want to get rid of them except they're not that good with them? They don't have draft picks. They don't have cap space. But besides that, Mrs. Lincoln. So this is, in fact, I saw somebody who covers the Heat regularly who sent out a tweet last night that said, no matter what happens Friday night, I hope Pat Riley's not planning on going anywhere for about 3 years, because that's how long it might take to clean this mess up.
The players that they lost some players, the role players that turned out to be bigger than they maybe thought, PJ Tucker being one of them, and the role players that they kept didn't improve to the level that they needed. And their core 3 is not enough. So now what do you do?
It's interesting you mentioned PJ Tucker. I was listening to an NBA show yesterday in which one of the hosts said, a former player, he goes, you have no idea how valuable a PJ Tucker is. The guy on the team who says to the entire room, I'll take their best player. Don't worry about it. I'll take their best player. And he goes, think about all the good teams and who the best players are. And PJ Tucker, your 4th or 5th best starter is the guy who raises his hand and goes, no, I got KD. I got, either one of the guys in Boston. I got this guy. I got that guy. No. And think about what a load and a relief that is for Jimmy Butler. That Jimmy doesn't have to, play them on the one end of the floor and then go up against them on the other. And he said, I think that's a loss they're having trouble coming back from.
And as we mentioned yesterday and talking about it now, they don't have cap space. They don't have draft picks.
Right.
So how do you make a move? We talked yesterday. It's probably trading Jimmy Butler.
Mm-hmm. Who's your best player? I mean, he is. He's your best player. But then again, with Jimmy Butler, how many more years do you have of Jimmy Butler being all-star caliber? He's 32. He's already missing about 20 games a year because of his knees. So how much longer are you going to ride this? Now, you got a team who's on the cusp of winning. They'd love the 2 really good years Jimmy Butler's got left. And then they'll gladly just, if a load management, fine. 63 games, fine. That's fine.
Wait until Sacramento gets bounced in the first round, how much they would need a Jimmy Butler type player.
The Knicks, in which Butler, who's already played for Thibodeau twice. Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. But, would Miami do a deal with the Knicks?
Well, that's why I kind of mentioned Sacramento, who plays terrible defense.
Yep. No,
and
you're onto
scores
something.
at will,
Mm-hmm.
and many think they're going to get bounced in the first round.
So, and it's funny, people are mixed on Butler. Like DC in our Twitch chat room says Butler's a cancer. Yeah, it's funny how certain people feel he's a cancer and certain people feel he's the alpha dog. All right. And that the rest of the room would be a lot better off if they followed him. Ask a Minnesota Timberwolves fan. Ask a Philadelphia 76ers fan. They chose everybody but Jimmy Butler in Philadelphia. Ask a Sixers fan how that's worked out in the last 3 years. Imagine Joel Embiid with Jimmy Butler. Huh.
21,000's a text line. What would you do, Heat fan? Because they are up against it and trying to figure out what the next move is going to be key. They don't believe in rebuilds. They retool.
Good luck. Good luck. Honestly, I don't know where Riley goes from here, except I think backwards. I don't see how. I know normally after a season like this one, no matter what happens Friday night, I mean, they're going to lose it in the first round quickly. That's if they can get to the first round. I said it yesterday, and I mean it. It's obvious by the performance that they put forth on Tuesday, this team's got nothing. So, to me, might as well have it end Friday. Have the answer be absolute. Last thing I want, Mark's a good performance Friday. They beat the Bulls by 10 and you know,
And figure out a way to win 2 games and losing 6 to the Bucks.
Exactly. And then we think, wow, you know, we're still good.
Player away. We take the 1 seed 6 games. We're a player away.
Right. Mm-hmm. By the way, what do you do if you're New Orleans? There's Zion Duncan in warmups, yet he's unable to play. It's an elimination game. He couldn't play 10, 12, 15 minutes last night. I mean, hasn't played in 3.5 months. Hamstring. What's going on? He's got a max contract, by the way.
Yes, he does.
Fully guaranteed.
And he's making claims that he wants to play and doesn't like this. Well, then play.
Well, and then there was talk last night about they kept him out for his mental health. Oof. That's a dangerous road to go down there.
I don't know what you do there, David. I really don't.
Well, also don't know what you're talking about. Did you throw that phrase out there because you're just trying to protect him because he hasn't played and you don't want to put him in this win or go home situation? You know, that would be putting him in a bad spot. Is that what you meant by that? Or is there something actually significant going on? I mean, Mark, we've had a couple of major leaguers in the last 5 days.
Right.
Who have gone to their general managers and said, I need time away from the game. I got to go talk to somebody. Huh. The starting 5 is next. Thanks for listening, Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes before the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Dalton Miller in an hour. Keith Smith, talk a little NBA playoffs. The first round of the play-ins are done. 3 of the road teams winners. So we got 2 teams that have been sent packing. Toronto and OKC, or excuse me, Toronto and New Orleans. And now, tomorrow night, no NBA tonight. Tomorrow night, Bulls Heat, Thunder T-Wolves. We'll see where we go from there. Right now, it is time for
The Starting Five. 5 stories you need to know. It's the Starting Five on Miller and Moulton. Here's number 1.
If they play 500 ball the rest of the way, they'll win 87 games, which is 1 more than they won all of last year. We're talking about the Tampa Bay Rays, who are never going to lose again. They're 12-0. Jumped out to a 6-1 lead on Chris Sale last night. Taj Bradley, their hot shot pitching prospect, he did okay. Looked good through the first 4 innings, got into some trouble in the 5th. 5 innings, 3 earned runs, 8 strikeouts. He got the win, however. Rosarena with a 3-run homer in the first. They've still got more homers than they've given up runs. 9-7 Rays the final, 30 homers, 27 runs allowed in the 12-0 start. But Mark, here's the important number. Over under our Rays attendance figure. 14,618 is our Rays attendance over under number every night. A Wednesday night at the Trop. They did 12-6 on Tuesday. What do you say?
Over?
Yes, in a big
baby.
way. In a big way. 4,500 more fans than Tuesday night. 17,136. Yeah. 9-7 Rays are 12-0. 1 o'clock today. They're playing the Red Sox again. Ah, hell. Play hooky and go. Or put in, if you're in the Tampa St. Pete area, put in a half a day and go. Let's get there by 110, though. These games are moving. I mean, even last night, 9-7, 244. You know, that's a long game these days. The Marlins took 2 or 3 from the Phillies. They're still not 500. They're game below, but they're trying. 3-2
and battling.
Yeah. Bullpen was great. 5 scoreless innings for the Marlins in the win. Phillies are scuffling. I think they're like 4-8. Wild game in Cleveland. Did you see what happened in the first inning?
Unbelievable.
Of course, the umpires deny it. You know, their story is, no, we were looking at something else. And then when we told Francona, well, what we were looking at, you know, no runs have scored. He said, well, I'm challenging whether or not he caught the ball. Well, that was 2 minutes after the play had happened and after the replays had already appeared on the big screen. So
And they only have 15 seconds to get the
right
challenge call in. You have 15 seconds to make a challenge call. They are pretty, well, in theory, they're pretty strict about that rule.
Mm-hmm. So here was the umpire's reasoning. The umpire's reasoning was, well, we didn't give him a chance to challenge it immediately after it happened because there were 2 on, 1 out in the bottom of the first scoreless game. Ball hit the center field, and it's ruled that the Yankees center fielder, Aaron Hicks, makes the catch on a sinking liner and gets up and doubles up the runner at second, and because they were running and they were going to score. And so what the umpires were looking at was, did the runner from third properly tag and score before the third out took place at second base? Because then in theory that run counts. And so they took a look at that on their own, so they claim. And then when they let Francona know, hey, no runs, Francona said, well, I'm challenging the whole play. I don't think he caught it. And then, they take a look at that and they rule, in fact, he didn't catch it. Guy's safe. We're going to give a run. We're going to put runners on the corners with one out. Well, Boone comes out and is like, hold on, 5 minutes later, you can't decide this. And besides, I don't even agree with what you're concluding. I know. He didn't catch it.
He didn't catch it.
No.
It wasn't close. I mean, they got the call right at the end of the day. And even Boone said that in the post game that they got the call right. But
Boone's arguing the process. It's like you can't 2 minutes later after they show the highlights on the big screen decide you're going to challenge it. That's ridiculous. So Boone got ejected in the first inning. But
he'll get ejected by this crew again when he goes to challenge a play 30 seconds after it happens and they don't allow it. I mean, you understand that that's coming, David.
Although he did credit the home plate umpire. He was effusive in his praise. He said, listen, I was pretty hot. He was really calm. He treated me really well. He could have gotten upset with me, and he never did. All right, so he gave the home plate umpire a lot of credit. Yankees rallied to win 4-3, scoring in the ninth to win it. Mets got homers from Lindor and Alonso to beat the Padres 5-2. Braves, they're going to the World Series. They're going to win the World Series, folks. Eddie Rosario homered in the eighth. They beat the Reds 5-4. Houston shut out Pittsburgh 7-0. Twins are 8-4. They beat the White Sox 3-1. Seattle snapped a 3-game skid, beating the Cubs 5-2. Cardinals rallied again, 2 in the eighth, 1 in the ninth, beat Colorado 7-4. Arizona took 2 or 3 from the Brewers, who had the best record in the National League, 7-4. Angels edged Washington 3-2. They're 7-5, which is, solid for them. Remember, need to be relevant. People are going to start talking about trading Ohtani and trading Trout. Baltimore snapped the 6-game skid, beat the Orioles 8-4. Toronto scored 2 in the ninth, 1 in the 10th to beat your Tigers, Mark, 4-3. It's getting late early in Detroit.
2-9, baby.
Woo! And coming off last year, ouch. Ouch. At some point, the players you put your trust in here need to start playing.
So 2-9's not good?
No. As a matter of fact, it's not. Texas lost to Kansas City 10-1 and found out Corey Seager is going to miss at least 4 weeks with a hamstring strain. Dodgers doubled up the Giants 10-5. NBA, the 2 play-in games involving the 9 and 10 seeds. So winner advances, losers out. Chicago went north of the border, rallied from 9 down in the fourth quarter to beat Toronto 109-105. Zach LaVine with 39. Bulls will head to Miami tomorrow night in a win-or-go-home game with the Heat.
Toronto missed 18 free throws. 18. They shot 50% from the line. They were 18 of 36 from the line. It's the NBA.
Yeah, I have not seen free throw shooting in an elimination game that bad since Sacramento in Game 7 back in the day against the Lakers. They ended up losing in overtime in Game 7 of the Western Conference Final, and they missed like 20 free throws in that game. OKC rallied, outscoring New Orleans by 15 in the third quarter and beat the Pelicans 123-118. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who had a quiet first half, had 32 on the night. So OKC heads to Minnesota, where tomorrow night they'll play the Timberwolves. Winner advances as the 8th seed to get Denver. Loser goes home. I got to admit, neither one is a great matchup for the Nuggets. The Timberwolves can go Towns and go Bear to throw at Jokic, and OKC is that young team that nobody wants to play. They don't think that, they're going to do a lot, but they could do just a little something. And let's face it, a lot of pressure on Denver in these playoffs. Hey, the Islanders made the playoffs. They beat Montreal 4-2 last night, and in doing so, snapped the longest streak of making the playoffs in North American sports. The Penguins had made the playoffs 16 consecutive seasons. Sidney Crosby was a rookie the last time the Penguins didn't make the playoffs. It was 2006. The George W. Bush administration. The Panthers need to win tonight to be the first wild card. The significance between being the first wild card and the second wild card is kind of a big deal. See, if you're the second wild card, that means you got the worst record. You're going to play the team with the best record. That's the Boston Bruins. They've lost only a few more games than the Rays have this year.
Right. By best record, we mean the best record in the history of the National Hockey League.
Correct. Most wins, most points. That's all. Anything less than a win tonight, and the Panthers get the Bruins. And what's interesting is the Panthers are hosting Carolina. Carolina has a 1-point lead over New Jersey to win the division and be the 1 seed on that side. The difference being, if you're the 1 seed, you get a wild card. If you fall back to second place, you get the Rangers, who a lot of people think are the team that's going to emerge from that division because they did so last year. So, very interesting regular season finale tonight over at Sunrise. Both teams playing for seeding, but it's a lot more important than you think. Dallas beat St. Louis 5-2. Stars are tied with Colorado for the division lead, but Colorado has 2 games left and Dallas only has 1 in a completely meaningless game. Calgary beat San Jose 3-1. So key games tonight. Lightning, by the way, finished the regular season hosting Detroit. Wonder if Yzerman will come down for the game. No? Probably
No.
Devils are in Washington, obviously looking to catch Carolina, and they have the tiebreaker, by the way. And, Colorado, Dallas, Edmonton, Vegas, they're all in action tonight. They're all playing for seeding out west. So Jeff Bezos announced yesterday, I'm not making a bid for the Commanders. Now, I will say, apparently, Mark, I don't spend a whole lot of time with the Wall Street Journal and all that, but apparently Bezos has lost about $30 billion in the last 6 weeks.
Right. He's still worth hundreds of billions of dollars.
Totally. I'm just saying, though, even for Jeff Bezos, he's gone, I think, from number 1 to number 3 on the list. I mean, that's got to get your attention, right?
So that means you got to tighten the purse strings and not buy the Commanders?
Apparently so. Right. And Saquon Barkley announced, I'm not signing my franchise tag, which he's taking a risk. See, if he signs the tag, it means he has to show up for workouts and mini camp and all that. Players, veterans don't want to do that. They'll show up at training camp. Here's the problem, though. You get hurt working out on your own between now and then. They don't owe you any money because you didn't sign your franchise tag. So would you risk $10.1 million just because you don't want to show up for mini camp and a few off-season workouts?
Never in a million years for me. I actually believe these are a little more important. I think teams that have, I don't necessarily think they have to do anything. I just think showing up is important.
And when we talk Major League Baseball expansion, and they are going to expand. I mean, Rob Manfred is on record as saying, I would love to get to 32 teams. And you could see them going just what the NFL does and have 8 4-team divisions. But the 2 cities that get mentioned are Nashville and Portland. Those guys are the leaders in the clubhouse. Mark, a city raised their hand yesterday and said, we're in. And this just in, the city that did that has hosted an Olympics. Salt Lake City came forward yesterday and said, yeah, we want Major League Baseball. Yeah, exactly. So right now you got Nashville, Portland, and Salt Lake City for 2 franchises. When and if that day comes, which will probably be near the end of this decade, once they, A's either stay or move to Vegas, and then the Rays get a new stadium somewhere. Then we'll have expansion right around 2030. Would you still keep Portland and Nashville ahead of Salt Lake?
I think so. I think so.
And as we approach 7 minutes before the hour, that was
the Starting 5 every weekday morning at this time on Miller and Moulton.
I'm trying to figure out how Nashville doesn't need the approval of the Braves. Because remember, every time Charlotte gets talked about, the Braves go, yeah, they're in our area. Mark, you and I have both driven the South. It's the same damn drive.
100%. And I've been with you on this one for a while. It's about 2.5 either way.
I think it's more like 3.5, but you must drive faster than me. But
maybe it's 3.
But that's all I'm saying. If Charlotte is a no, Nashville's a yes.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're gonna have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6, and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
I'm getting something saying my iPhone is vulnerable to attacks, and I need to download this defense protocol app.
No,
Yeah,
you don't. You don't.
Yeah. It's telling me my phone's memory's already lost 17% damage.
Who is it coming from?
Apple Security.
Is it an email?
No, it's on my phone.
Are you on a website, or did it just pop up?
Yeah, I was looking at an obit.
Yeah, it's something that is trying to get you to download something. I would suggest getting off of the page, closing the page out.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Hour 2 of Miller and Moulton on this Thursday. Thanks so much for being with us. Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Dalton Miller to talk some football in about 35 minutes' time. You know, I was thinking about you before the show. I was thinking about young you. I was thinking about the Rays being 12-0. And it's kind of like, you know, besides joking that they're never going to lose again and what have you, you know, what do you want to talk about here? And I started thinking about young Mark Miller because, you know, we're finding out certain teams because of the Rays, you know, what was it? The 2003 Royals had won, what was it, 9 or 10 in a row to start their season. And now the Rays are trying to catch the 87 Brewers, who won 13 in a row, and Joe Torre's 82 Braves team with Murphy and Horner and Phil Niekro won their first 12. You know, so we're learning things like that. But the start, I mean, if you're a baseball fan of just, you know, a little bit of age, the start that everybody references is your 84 Tigers team.
Bless you, boys.
And what were you, 14 turning 15 that year?
Yes.
And so I'm thinking about, we're talking about the Rays, can they attract fans and what have you, and it's their 25th year and, celebrating the franchise. And, a lot of talk about, hey, they've been around now long enough where they can, they're developing their own generation of fans. And so I was thinking about the 14 and 15-year-old kids in the Tampa St. Pete area who are Rays fans. And I know there are Rays fans elsewhere, up I-75, down I-75, across I-4, the whole deal. But, I mean, the Rays fan base is largely in their two-county area. And I'm just trying to think back, what was that, 9th, 10th grade for you?
It was the summer going into 10th grade.
How cool? How cool was that summer? The Tigers are.
I mean, it was amazing because you spent time in North Dakota. You know how big the Twins radio network, the Tigers radio networks of similar size all throughout the state, upper and lower peninsula. People spend their summers going up to the lake or to the Great Lakes and spending time on boats. And I grew up listening to the Tigers, whether it was with my dad in the car or with my grandparents. It was my grandmother, especially in the summertime. That's what we did.
How many games could you see, by the way? And I don't mean in person. I mean, like,
no, probably 2 or 3 a week.
Okay, so you couldn't get the Tigers nightly.
I don't think at that point. I'm trying to think where we were with, what's now Bally's Detroit. It was past sports back then. I'm trying to think if we were getting that many games, and I don't think we were getting, but maybe half were on television at that point.
So that's cool. So you guys are sitting in the house or getting in the car and driving around, or in the summer sitting outside with the radio on, listening to Ernie, legendary Ernie Harwell, and the Tigers. Because think about this. The Rays are 12-0. And that's awesome. It's amazing. It's one of the 4 best starts in the last 120 plus years in the history of the sport. The start of season. Mark, they got to go 23-5 in their next 28 just to tie that Tigers team. 23-5. I mean, 35-5 for goodness sake.
35-5.
And not only that, the reason I was thinking about young 14, 15-year-old Mark Miller also was that as you were growing up, the Tigers in the 60s and into the very early 70s were a very formidable American League franchise.
Correct.
But then from you had a 10-year period there where you had one good year and it wasn't good enough to win the division. And then all of a sudden, here came the 84 Tigers.
And it was lightning in a bottle because they were a nice team, but everything happened.
Right. Like the strike season of 81, I remember the Tigers were playing meaningful games late. They were battling Milwaukee for the second half title. Winner to play the Yankees, who won the first half. And I remember Milwaukee beat them a few times late, and Milwaukee won the second half. And then the Yankees and Brewers played in the playoffs. And yes, that's right. Detroit was in the AL East. Milwaukee was in the AL East. It's
American League East, that is,
right.
For the Brewers, American League.
Right. And so, that's the first time, by the way, in 81 when I'm like, this Trammell-Whitaker duo. They're talking a lot about them. They say this Jack Morris guy. He seems pretty good. Lance Parrish behind the plate.
Lance Parrish and a Chet Lemon. They were pretty good up the middle.
Right. Huh. And man, it's 440 feet to straightaway center field. Damn. That's a long way. So then 84, 35-5. I'm 18 years old. I'm in college. And I'm like, who the hell's 35-5? This is baseball. Nobody goes 35-5.
Now, after Tampa wins today,
okay,
they play 3 with the Blue Jays.
All right, decent team.
Then the Reds. Then the White Sox. Now the Astros, good team.
Although off to a 5-7 start, but yes.
Followed by 4 with the White Sox, average team. Then they play the Pirates. I'm just telling you that they're not challenging 35-5, but the series they have, they could get off to a 25 start, 25 start.
32-8. Is that what you're saying? I mean, but I was just first off thinking about what it is you must have experienced and how cool this could be for the middle school, high school, heading to college, just kids, in which maybe this is the summer, if this can continue, in which the Rays grab a generation.
Well, and it was interesting that David Sampson earlier this week, because I asked about that. I remember the euphoria of that summer, of the big lead that the Tigers had, that everybody became a Tigers fan. I was a Tigers fan. From my youngest memories, it's my oldest fandom. But everybody caught Tigers feet. Everybody in the neighborhood was into the Tigers. Kids that didn't pay as much attention were now into it. You know how that goes. I mean, I lived in Atlanta when the Braves made their first run. I'm working in restaurants, and people who never paid attention to the sports, you're walking in knowing I'm a sports fan, going, "Did you see the Braves game last night?" Oh, yeah, I did, because I've been watching them. That's what I do. But the way it catches on with the front runner, David Sampson poo-pooed me on this Tuesday. I think this season is so monstrous for Tampa because of this big start. And maybe it's just my memories of the 84 Tigers and what that summer was like and what a great start could lead to for the Rays. Little things I'm curious about. They had 17,000 last night, midweek game.
On a Wednesday night for
Right.
the Rays, that's decent. Maybe even a little better than that.
Now, there were a lot of Red Sox fans there last night. But they've got a 1 o'clock start today. Do they get to the over today?
Remember, our Rays over-under is 14,618. That's the number that we just picked out of the thin air. It's up there. That's the over-under on the Rays. 14,618. I think, was that their attendance Monday night? Is that why we picked 14,618?
I think you just pulled it out of thin air.
Okay. But anyway, they were under on Tuesday, and they were under by 2,000. 12-6 on Tuesday. I mean, 10-0, 12-6. Yikes. I mean, you have to draw at least 1,000 per win, don't you? I mean, but 1 o'clock today, school's in session. Don't know what group sales are like this early in the season.
Not good.
No. Who's your group on a Thursday 1 o'clock game?
Not good, unless you're going to the, senior communities and trying to get them to come to the ballpark.
Well, got to admit, if we were, and I know our show airs in Tampa St. Pete, but if we were living there, we'd be playing hooky today. There's no doubt.
I've thought about going all day long. From watching last night, I'm going, do I just go after the show and drive to St. Pete and go catch a game today?
Well, the funny thing is,
end up sitting on my couch and watching it.
The funny thing is, on a getaway day too. I mean, the odds are this game really moves. This could be a 2:20 game today, which means it's over at 3:30. I mean, you could still get home before your wife gets home from work.
Absolutely, and she wouldn't even know I was at. What'd you do today? Just a little of this, little of that.
Right. It was relaxing, though. How about you, honey? So that's what I was thinking about. I was thinking about young Mark Miller and how many thousands of young Mark Millers there are, in which, what if this, because the 87 Brewers leveled off. They actually started with 13 wins. Later on in the season, they had a 12-game losing streak. The Royals, who started off like 9 or 10-0 in 2003, they only won 83 games. And there was no wild card then. Well, there was a wild card, but they didn't come close to getting it. The Brewers finished third in 87 in the AL East, despite starting 13-0. I mean, hell, we can already start printing playoff tickets for the Rays. I mean, they're in. We're just trying to figure out who the other 5 are.
Look at you.
Oh, it's over. You put an X next to them in the standings.
Look at you.
Playoff spot. Absolutely. It's over. 500 ball the rest of the way. They win 87. That might be good enough for the 6th seed. 86 was last year. Please.
I've been recruiting fans for him, though. I put the games on. I sit down with the daughter who's now playing softball, so she understands the game of baseball, and I can actually show her a thing or two. I go, who's your team? She goes, I think it's Tampa. And she went, she goes, Is there a Pittsburgh or Detroit? I'm like, yes, but they're both bad, honey, and you do not have to root for mom and dad's teams. In the case of your mother, she doesn't even root for Pittsburgh. She left them, and you don't need to root for the team she roots for because they have enough fans. Jump on the bandwagon, kiddo. Jump on the bandwagon.
So I was thinking about you this morning. I was thinking about young you and how cool the spring and summer of 1984 had to be, and how is this going to be that spring and summer in the Tampa Bay area involving the Rays?
Man, I hope so. It would be great for the Rays if they can keep on keeping on and just front run this whole season to build a fan base. Miller and Moulton. We'll talk some NFL in 25 minutes with Dalton Miller right here on the Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6 and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
Minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Dalton Miller, Pro Football Network, to join us in a little more than 15 minutes time. Keith Smith, talk NBA. Playoffs get underway in a big way on Saturday. You got the 2 elimination games tomorrow night in Miami and Minnesota. The winners, Chicago, Miami, OKC, Minnesota, they enter the playoffs as the 8th seed. But the playoffs get underway on Saturday. Meanwhile, the NHL regular season. Tonight's the last big night. There's a few games Friday. Have to admit, Mark, they don't play this weekend. I mean, got the weekend off. Playoffs start Monday. Does that feel like a missed opportunity?
100%. Sunday's the best TV night of the week. I would be starting the playoffs on the weekend.
Now, it is interesting, because the hockey's television deal is basically the same as NBA's television deal. They're both with Turner and ESPN. So I can understand, the playoffs, you got to alternate nights, basically. Hoops is on one network while Pucks is on the other beginning next week. But I don't know. It just seems weird to not have any games in between the regular season and the playoffs on a weekend. Gear up for Monday. And both the Lightning and the Panthers will be in the playoffs. Lightning playing Toronto, and the Panthers, well, they could play any one of 3 teams depending on how the results go tonight.
And there's only one team that they really don't want.
Right.
Because I think if the Panthers end up with Carolina or Jersey, they have a chance.
Yes.
Both Jersey and Carolina are not big teams. They're fast, but the playoffs are a different game. Hitting becomes part of hockey again. You can physically take it to a team, and I think Florida has the ability physically to play with both Jersey and Carolina. And I don't think they have anything. I don't think anybody has anything for Boston in the first round. I just don't. And I know that Florida played Boston reasonably tough during the year. I don't think this team in the playoffs has it for Boston. We'll see.
Also, the Panthers, one of the questions about them is their goaltending. That's probably the big question mark to both Carolina and New Jersey as well. It's certainly New Jersey's biggest question mark. Carolina's, the goaltending's usually pretty good. Very rarely is it great. And also, Carolina seems like they're built for the regular season. Don't know how much greatness is on the Carolina Hurricanes. They seem like a very good, solid hockey club. In the playoffs, you usually need to be a little better than that. So that's what's at stake. Panthers with a win tonight avoid the Bruins. They need a win. Not a regulation loss, not a shootout overtime loss where they get a point. No, they need 2 points out of tonight. Otherwise, they're opening with Boston. If they get the 2 points tonight, they'll play either the team they're playing tonight, Carolina, or New Jersey. Big difference.
And Tampa obviously going to play Toronto. Can they do it to the Leafs again?
Oh, man.
Tampa to us playing with house money in this series. Really and truly, even though they've been to the finals 3 straight times, it's Toronto that'll have all the pressure. Toronto's going to be expected to win this series, and Tampa is the team with the pedigree.
Edgar Thompson will join us a little more than an hour. It's been a great 5 days for the Florida Gators athletic department. Mark, I could argue this has been the best 5 days the Florida Gators have had as an athletic department. They've had teams achieve great things in the last 3 years, but I could argue as an athletic department, this is the best 5 days that the University of Florida has had since the pandemic in 3 years. I mean, I really could. The gymnastics team is through to the national semifinals, even though their top gymnast is hurt. They picked up apparently an elite recruit for next year. They're ranked second in the country. The baseball team's top 3 in the country. They won a big series against Tennessee over the weekend, and they beat Florida State, and boy, do they own the Noles. They're like 26-6 in their last 32 against Florida State in baseball. It's amazing how much they own the Noles. But, Mark, the basketball and football teams are actually getting players.
Because they've got their collective together.
It looks as if now they do. That, they were of the big 3 in state, they were the first ones to go public, pound their chest and say, hey, we're the NIL school in this state, the Gator Collective. As it turned out, not so much. It didn't work out particularly well.
Not only did it not work out, it turned out to be an embarrassment.
Mm-hmm. And they lost Rashada, the quarterback. Right.
I mean, they looked to be a bankrupt collective, that they were writing checks that they didn't have an account for.
So now they've put together, they've reorganized, Mark. They brought in, got rid of a CEO, brought in a new CEO, influx of money. They've reorganized. Okay, what are the ground rules again? All right. Instead of doing it our way, we're actually going to do it the way everybody else is doing it. And because of it, Napier's having a terrific 2024 recruiting run here. And he's getting in-state 4- and 5-star kids to say yes to the Gators. And this is something Miller and Moulton have been talking about for a while. Bud Elliott tipped us off on this half dozen years ago, in which it's been alarming the number of 4- and 5-stars in the state of Florida that are not staying in state. Because we asked him, a half a dozen years ago, why the big 3, were mediocre. And he said, well, they're not keeping the in-state talent. We were like, what are you talking about? He's like, oh, let me give you the numbers. But also, Mark, there are recruiting services out there that say right now the number 1 basketball school so far in terms of acquiring talent in the portal are the Florida Gators. Rick Pitino's best player on Iona grew up in Florida, went to Iona. Well, Pitino obviously wanted him to follow him to St. John's. Kid said, no, I'm going back home. He's going to play for the Gators. It's a player. They've got a couple of those who have said, no, I'm going to play for the Gators. All right. So, spring game tonight. I mean, we still don't think the Gators have a quarterback. We don't think they're going to be particularly good in 2023. Hopefully, we're wrong. We'll have Edgar Thompson on a little more than an hour, Mark, but believe it or not, it's been a good week for the Gators.
Florida Victorious is working, is what you're telling me?
So I didn't like the name, but a Gator alum pointed out to me that there's I think the alma mater song or what have you, and it's na 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 Florida Victorious, and I went, oh, okay,
because I was just thinking from Entourage, the Damon character, victory. Like every time they get a recruit, they could yell that. That's where I was with it.
So I was glad he did, by the way, sing a few bars of it to me, and you know how much I love Broadway. So I'm like, oh, well, now you had me at Victorious.
Does anybody have a good alma mater song? There's good fight songs out there. The alma mater songs, it's just such a slow grind.
Usually. I would say the one that I like, but you'd fire me.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN play of the day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the play of the day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka play of the day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka play of the day.
That's Clutch with a K.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6 and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Johnny Mac, I think Seth can handle the Devils losing to anyone but the Rangers. Well, and Jack Morris was from St. Paul, wasn't he? So that's why, like, when they brought him to the Twins in 91, it was a homecoming. Never mind how well he pitched. Only year he played for him. It was like Pudge with the Marlins. You know, Kawhi with the Raptors. I mean, you know, some guys are always going to be thought of very fondly by an organization. They played there a year, lead them to a championship. You're a legend. Ugh. Golly. He better be back tomorrow.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes before the hour. Thanks so much for being with us. Thursday edition of Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Keith Smith, as we look ahead to the full field NBA playoffs, which will get underway on Saturday. A couple of play-in elimination games tomorrow night in Miami and Minnesota. Keith Smith to join us in a little over 20 minutes' time. Edgar Thompson from the Orlando Sentinel. It's been a big 5-6 days for the Florida Athletic Department, and their spring football game is tonight. We'll talk to Edgar about all of it 1 hour from now. Dalton Miller, kind enough to make time for us once again. The good folks at Pro Football Network have been joining us at this day and time since before last football season. Follow Dalton on Twitter at Dalton, the letter B Miller, Dalton B Miller. Dalton, it's David and Mark. Top of the morning to you. How are you?
Fantastic. How are you gentlemen doing today?
Well, we are fine. Listening whispers. And by the way, why would Houston, out of the side of their mouth to a few reporters, say we may not take a quarterback at 2? Tell me why someone in the organization would say that off the record, if you will, but want to get that out there. How does that benefit them?
Honestly, I have no idea. I am not sure why they would leak that out there unless they don't love any of these quarterbacks, or if they only love one of the quarterbacks and that quarterback happens to be Bryce Young. Because we kind of started to hear this stuff after, rumors and the betting public started to favor Bryce Young as the top pick. So maybe they don't like C.J. Stroud. Maybe they don't want to go after Anthony Richardson with the second pick. If you don't love any of these guys, using the second pick on them probably isn't the best decision. The thing is, you're the Houston Texans, and you've never had a quarterback. So why not take a swing on a guy? I don't understand it. I like these quarterback prospects. Unless you believe you're going to be terrible again and have a shot at somebody like Caleb Williams, who fantastic player, a lot of fun to watch, but you don't know ever if the next quarterback class is actually going to be as good as the previous quarterback class. So it's a really weird thing that they would leak it. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense for them to, but it kind of feels like they might not love any of these guys.
And I can't imagine them trading out of the spot, although I would think there would be a lot of action. If they're for sure in this, I'm not going to take a quarterback, they've got to trade that pick then, don't they?
Yes, absolutely. And you can get a pretty penny because it would be, one of Indianapolis. I mean, there's a bunch of teams that could possibly move up. We've heard rumors about, 6 teams talking to the Arizona Cardinals about moving for that third pick. And guys, if there's a quarterback or a team that really loves one of these guys, there is nothing that they won't be willing to give up. We saw what the Carolina Panthers did to move up to the top pick in the draft. We thought it was going to be for C.J. Stroud just because of, the tea leaves and what history tells us about, really small quarterbacks and how the NFL views them. But it's kind of looking like they favor Bryce Young. So I think if one of these teams really likes C.J. Stroud, really likes the mix of upside and, sure thing from him, I think a team will give Houston a pretty penny for it. And maybe Houston likes one of the guys like Anthony Richardson or Will Levis more, knows that taking one of those guys at 2 might not be the best decision. And maybe they're trying to get a haul to move back to the 4th pick and draft one of those guys there. I think if you really like a guy, you take him at 2. But they might be trying to get the best of both worlds.
He's Dalton Miller, Pro Football Network. Follow him on Twitter, Dalton B. Miller. By the way, if you were Carolina, who would you take?
I would personally take C.J. Stroud. I think that what we saw in the Michigan and Georgia game was everything that we've kind of been waiting to see from C.J. Stroud, the ability to get outside of the pocket, create, make plays with his legs and his arm. And we didn't see it a lot during the season. And I just think that he doesn't really want to play outside of the pocket very often. He doesn't want to have to create. He's very quick-witted, gets rid of the ball quick, gets it to the right spot. And he doesn't really have to create. He didn't have to because he had a fantastic offensive line and 3 first-round picks at wide receiver. So you didn't have to see it very often. But when he had to do it, you saw it. So I really like what he brings from an upside and sure thing perspective. I love Anthony Richardson as well, but I think when you have that mix with C.J. Stroud, I would rather bet on that for the first pick if I were Carolina.
But it sounds like you take Richardson before you take Bryce Young. Is that a safe assumption?
I personally would. So the frame doesn't really worry me too much with Bryce Young. The height doesn't bother me as much because I've seen him work over the middle of the field at a high level. I know that he can do it. My issues with Bryce Young are that he thinks he's 240 pounds because he will go out and he will try to make plays in the pocket and he will take some massive shots. And you love the toughness of that from Bryce Young. But when you are doing that and you're playing at 180 pounds, that worries me a little bit for his longevity because even guys like Josh Allen, guys like Anthony Richardson, guys like Justin Fields, those big dudes who take a beating running the football consistently, those hits, they might not get you hurt in an independent situation, but those hits over time really cause damage. And I think when you're 180 pounds, those hits cause even more damage. So that worries me with Bryce Young more than anything. And so, yes, I would bet on Richardson. But I would more so bet on Richardson because I think that he has the ability to be the best quarterback in the entire NFL, and that is including Patrick Mahomes if he is feeling.
Wow. Dalton Miller, Pro Football Network, profootballnetwork.com. Follow him on Twitter, Dalton, the letter B, Miller. All right. How many of these quarterbacks do you give a first-round grade to? Because obviously, you could get down to Washington at 16, Tampa Bay at 19. Heck, Detroit and Seattle at 18 and 20 could get cute and try to draft the quarterback of their future. Vikings fans are desperately wanting their team to draft a quarterback of the future. Just curious, how many of these do you look at as first-round quarterbacks?
Yeah, so I have 3 first-round grades on the quarterbacks, and it would be C.J. Stroud, Bryce Young, and Anthony Richardson. I have a 2 on Will Levis. I think that we're at the point of the narrative where you either are massively defending Will Levis or you absolutely hate him, and I'm just kind of in the middle with him. I think that there are situations he can be successful in, and I think, a spot like Tennessee that really wants to build around the run game and play action would be a good spot for him at 11, or, if they want to trade up for him, they can do that too. I think something that would take time, like the Detroit Lions, looking at Hendon Hooker or even the Minnesota Vikings, places that have an established quarterback who they will probably want to move on from in a year or two would be a good place for Hooker, because I do think he's going to have to progress at the NFL level from that offense that he was in at Tennessee. And so for me, I have those 3 first-round grades. Hooker actually, ends up with a 3 for me, but you pay the quarterback tax. And if you want to take a guy like that in the first round, it's okay to do if you believe that he could be your quarterback, your franchise quarterback for a decade.
All right. If you're after position where should you be worried in the first round? Where is the lack of depth going to concern you the most with first-round talent?
Wide receiver. After the first one comes off the board, maybe the second one, because I really like Zay Flowers too. But he is a, SMOL, small wide receiver at the end of the day. And I think a lot of NFL teams won't like that. For me, it's JSN and then just kind of everybody else. So wide receiver is a big one for me. Offensive guard, I don't know if there is a first-round guy when it comes to the offensive guards. But once those top 2 guys, Vila and Torrance, are gone, I think that you're looking at a huge drop-off on the interior. If you want to, move somebody like Darnell Wright from Tennessee to guard from tackle, that's obviously an option as well for some teams, but I think he'll be a top 15 type pick. It's just not a great draft overall, guys. And I hate to say that because I love the draft. It's just not a great draft overall. Outside of corner, it really kind of falls flat overall. Running back is really good as well, but nobody values running back. So it'll be interesting to see where some of those guys go. But yeah, I think once you get out of the top 2 or 3 at most of the positions, you're kind of leaving wanting.
Well, there's talk that there could be 5, 6 edge rushers taken in the first round. And is this a case of, it's tough to find them, kind of like a quarterback? And so are the edge rushers being overrated and overvalued? Because that's a lot for the first round. And they're being talked about going in the first half of the first round.
Yeah, I think when you look at the position as a whole and you look at what we've seen even more recently with that position, teams are betting on athleticism and the positional coaching, the out-of-team positional coaching, the personal coaches have gotten so much better at being able to figure out how to get these freak athletes who are a little bit raw as pass rushers and make them technically refined guys who can go out and win right away. And I think we're starting to see that with pass rushers more than ever. And this is a draft where, from an edge rusher perspective, you have some absolute freaks out there that are going to be overdrafted based off of the tape that they have. That kind of comes down to the, struggles in this draft class in general. But part of it is also they are freak athletes, and these teams are just betting on that athleticism at this point. I personally think there's 3 or 4 guys that I would look at and take in the top 15. But because it is such an important position, you're probably going to see, 5 guys go in the top 20 and another 3 or 4 go at the end of the first round, because you want that 5th year for a guy, because if they can end up being a 10-plus sack guy or a fantastic run defender and get you 6 to 10 sacks, you're looking at a guy who's going to make, close to $20 million, more than $20 million by the point you have to pay him, and you want that 5th year out of him.
And Mark, my concern is that I'm wondering how many of these guys are going to be Rousseau of Buffalo and Tryon of Tampa, taken in the latter third of the first round because of their freak athleticism, who I think have woefully underperformed.
Well, and you look every year, we talk about this, Dalton. I'm just curious how many guys you give first-round grades to, because typically there's only about 20 guys that get a first-round grade. Sounds to me like there's less, and will that lead to more trading in the first round? We've already had Carolina-Chicago deal. You talked about Arizona being interested in a trade. You wonder, does Philadelphia try to move up, or Detroit, Seattle with multiple picks with less on the plate, if you know what I mean, from a first-round standpoint? Does that lead to more movement?
Yeah, see, the problem with that is it goes 2 ways. Guys or teams have to want to move up for guys. And I just don't know, once you get to a certain point in this draft, I don't know what you're trying to move up for. And I think when you're at the top, it's tough, because I think some of the teams that would want to move back have so much draft capital that it doesn't really make sense for them to move back. Like the Detroit Lions, they have like 4 picks in the top 50. There's no reason for them to trade out of 6 or 18 for that matter. And they can probably completely revamp that secondary at corner if they want to at 6 and 18, or maybe even get Jalen Carter at 6. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this all shakes out. I think that Arizona is the prime trade candidate out of that top 10. We might see somebody try to move up in the later first round, maybe try to get 5 years out of Bijan Robinson because you don't want to pay running backs, and you don't really want to draft one in the first round anyways. But I think once you get in a draft like this where there is only 12 to 14 probably legitimate first round grades, once you get to that point, he is one of those first round grades because of the position he plays. You don't want to take him in the first round. But where is the value meeting there? Because I think once you get to about 20, when it comes to somebody as good as Bijan Robinson is, even in a running back class as talented as this one, I'm looking at that and saying I could have one of the best 3 guys at the position for 4 years, because in that 5th year, he's probably going to hold out, try to get that contract extension. It's not going to be pretty. He's going to maybe play under the tag. That's the way that goes for running backs. But you're going to get at least 3 really, really great years out of him. So it's going to be interesting. I don't think there's going to be a ton of movement just because teams aren't going to want to move up for anyone.
He's Dalton Miller, lead analyst, Pro Football Network, profootballnetwork.com. You can follow that site on Twitter at PFN365. Follow Dalton on Twitter at Dalton, the letter B, Miller. Dalton B. Miller. Dalton, as always, appreciate your time and your insight. 2 weeks from today, buddy.
So excited for it. I cannot wait.
Thank you, Dalton. Have a great rest of your day and weekend. Dalton Miller, kind enough to join us once again here on Miller and Moulton. Can I throw this out there, a different way of looking at Robinson, the running back from Texas, who everybody agrees is a first rounder, a high first rounder in terms of talent? The running back franchise tag is $10.1 million. You can get 5 years out of him and tag him for a very low tag figure based on other positions. Get 6 years out of him. And if you
twice, you get 7 if you really want it.
There you go. But if you just decide, you know what, I got 6, he's about 28 now, I'm moving on. I mean, 50-50 first round picks. Are you sure you're not going to take this guy if he's one of the 8 best players in the draft on everybody's board?
I could see there's a few teams I could see definitely looking at that, David, late in the first round. But I think you've got to be close if you're going to make that move.
How about Philly at 10?
Miller and Moulton. Thanks for listening right here on the Florida Sports Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6, and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN play of the day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the play of the day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka play of the day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka play of the day.
That's Clutch with a K. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Funny thing, Johnny Mack, is when the Ravens turned to draft, both tight ends could still be there, Mayer and Kincaid. And it wouldn't shock me if one of those guys is the highest rated player on their board. Doesn't it just feel like Robinson, the running back, is going to fall in the Ravens' lap? Because that's what happens in the draft.
Hey, quick reminder, he's not with Celtic Blog anymore.
It's on his Twitter handle, though.
It is. Well, he wrote an article on Celtic Blog that he wasn't working there anymore.
Oh, okay.
Unless I'm wrong, but he literally penned a thing that he was done working there about a month ago. He's with the C's Blog until the playoffs are over. Okay, thanks, Dad.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
It is the third and final hour of Miller and Moulton on this Thursday, at least for those in Lake City and surrounding areas, Tampa, St. Pete, Port Charlotte, and Venice. We're just halfway home for those loyal listeners in the 239. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. We'll check in on the Gators. What an eventful week it's been for the University of Florida and so many parts of their athletic department with Edgar Thompson from the Orlando Sentinel in a little over 30 minutes' time. Keith Smith, kind enough to give us a few minutes of his time talking NBA. Keith with Spot Rack in the front office show. He's wrapping up a long stint with the Celtics blog between now and the end of the playoffs. You can follow Keith on Twitter at Keith Smith NBA, Keith Smith NBA. Keith, it's David and Mark. Thanks for your time. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
All right. Crazy question to start this next 10, 12 minutes. If you could be a general manager going forward, which team would you rather be the GM of, Orlando or Miami? Because I think I want the Orlando gig.
Yeah, I think it's Orlando too. Now, Miami, you've got the history, right? It's probably going to be a rough next couple of seasons, but you'll probably find your way out of it and you'll end up in a good place. But Orlando's got arguably the brightest future of any team in the league. They're loaded with young talent. They're going to add another good draft pick. They've got cap space for at least probably the next couple seasons to enhance around the guys that they have. So that's a team that took major steps forward this season. And I think next year they may be, never mind playing, they may be a top 6 team in the league, pending what offseason moves they make. So I'm with you. I'd probably lean Orlando as well.
What do you do if you're regardless of what happens Friday night for Miami? We watched the game against the Hawks. That their 3 may not be good enough. The parts they lost in the offseason, obviously they did not replace. So what direction should the Heat even be thinking to go in following whenever this season ends?
Yeah, first thing is you got to get another big in there along with Bam Adebayo. I know people are beating up on him because he didn't have a good game in that first playing game. But it's all year it's been, hey, you do everything on the interior defensively, defend the rim, step out and hedge out on guards on the perimeter. Oh, and can you get all the rebounds too? Because everybody else on this roster is a wing or they're a guard. And I think, that's my first piece. But next, you got to explore at least, hey, what could we do with the Kyle Lowry deal? I know he's coming off a great playing game, but it's obvious he has slipped greatly in the way he plays. You got to at least explore, what can we get out of Duncan Robinson's contract? Because they're in a tough spot because a couple key contributors, guys who have been starters for most of the year, Gabe Vincent, Max Strus, they're both free agents coming off minimum deals, so they're going to be looking to get paid for the first time. It's a really, really tricky spot for the Heat. And you've kind of painted yourself into a corner by locking into a handful of guys on this roster that those contracts now look pretty questionable.
Well, and Keith, we know there's going to be teams lining up for Lillard if, in fact, he's finally going on the block. But let's just say the Heat put Jimmy Butler on the block. As somebody, that I follow said recently, he's a 2-point guy in a 3-point league. And he's 32, and he's only played 65 or more games twice in his career. I'm just curious, what can Jimmy Butler get? He could be the missing piece somewhere, like maybe with the Knicks. But, what would the market be for 33-year-old Jimmy Butler next year?
Getting on the right kind of team. Well, without me saying it would be the Knicks, but that's the right kind of team. A team that is kind of, they're good, but they're not quite that title contender. They're looking for that one player to kind of put them over the top. And the most important thing, because what you said is he's not a 3-point threat. So what you have to have is probably 3 or 4 shooters around him, guys who can make outside shots, where he can probably settle more into all right, I'm going to be for 3 quarters, mostly a playmaker. I'm going to set guys up. And in the fourth quarter, I'm here because I can still have to have a deep enough roster where when he inevitably plays 55 games in the next few years of his career, because one, a combination of just injuries, general soreness, and you're going to want them rested for the playoffs, you have to have enough depth to get by. So that starts to shrink your list. That becomes, the handful of contenders that are out there that really need a wing that could say, all right, we can make the investment in trade capital to go get a guy like Jimmy Butler.
I just wonder about a team like Sacramento, depending on what happens in the postseason. They score so much, they're defensively a little bit challenged. And with that being said, Keith, who do you think has the most pressure on them entering the playoffs? Which team is it's win or bust?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think there's a couple. I think Denver is at that point now. I think people are starting to look at it as, all right, are we just going to be regular season paper tigers here for the next, how many years is this going to go on? I think Philadelphia is feeling some pressure because you win a title. It's funny. You can almost go two ways if they win the championship. You could say, all right, James Harden is he's free and clear to move on because he won, he brought the title to the team, or we don't win, and James Harden is like, all right, I'm out of here, see you guys later, good luck with this. So I think those are the two teams in each conference that I feel most confident in. They've really got to make a real run at this thing.
He's Keith Smith. He covers the NBA. He's doing so for the next couple months on Celtics blog, but he's been a big part of Spot Rack and the YouTube front office show. Follow Keith on Twitter at Keith Smith NBA. Keith Smith NBA. Is there an upset that you like in these playoffs? And I don't mean upset by seeding. Like, if the Warriors beat Sacramento, anybody going to be surprised? Is there, so if we take that 6-3 off the table, is there an upset you like?
Yeah, it's tough because that's the one everybody's pointing to, and that's and if anybody comes back bragging that they picked Warriors over Kings, that's like the guy who tells everybody he picked the 9 over the 8 in the NCAA tournament. It's like, yeah, cool, dude, that's not really an upset. I think it's weird to paint it this way, but maybe Lakers, just because they did have to come through the play-in tournament. I think a lot of people, though, are picking them to beat the Grizzlies. I think they may get the Grizzlies as well, just because I think that's a pretty limited Memphis team. So that's probably as close, because in the East, I don't see any of the top three getting challenged at all in the first round. I think they're all going to win in probably 4 or 5 games. And out West, I think Denver will get through. I think it's probably got to be the Grizzlies if we take that Kings-Warriors one off the table. And I'm with you. I'm picking the Warriors just like I think 99% of the public will be.
All right, when it's all said and done, who represents the East and West? Who do you like in the finals? Let's get you on the record now, Keith.
Yeah, my preseason pick was Boston and the LA Clippers. I'm going to stick with the Celtics. I think they're the best team in the league, and I think they are going to show that here in these playoffs. I think they've stumbled and they threw away a bunch of regular season games, but when they've played the best teams, Milwaukee and Philadelphia, they've risen to the occasion and handled those teams. Out West, I'm gonna go with the Phoenix Suns now. I don't trust in the Clippers. Who knows with Paul George? Who knows what's going to happen with him? And I think the Suns, they've got the star power, and their depth is pretty good functional depth. Those guys play their roles. So I'm going to go with Boston and Phoenix in the finals. And I think the Celtics are going to get it done this year. I think everything's been building to this. They've been taking those incremental steps along the way, and it's finally time for them to put another title up.
What's your gut feeling about Jaylen Brown in Boston? Because, does he want to be Robin? He may not. He may want to be Batman somewhere. He's 26. He'll have 2 years left on an affordable deal, but he obviously is going to want to get really, really, really paid, and he will. I mean, if Boston's going to move on from him, this would be the offseason to do it, to break up Batman and Robin. What's your gut about Jaylen Brown? Is he going to stay in Boston long-term, or is this actually, he may be in Boston about as long as Harden's in Philadelphia?
Yeah, we're going to find out here in the next month or so when they announce the All-NBA teams. If he makes All-NBA and then becomes eligible for a Supermax contract, and the Celtics give him that offer, if he doesn't immediately sign it, then it is fair. I have said all along, then it's fair, start the warning lights and the, screaming and yelling and, panic and everything else, because that says to me, he's out of there. And then if you're the Celtics, you have to see what you can get for him in a trade, because we have seen one player so far, Kawhi Leonard, turn down the Supermax. And that was a situation where we all knew that was done with him in San Antonio, and they moved on and got a pretty good package back for him. So I think if now what you're looking at it with the Celtics is, it all kind of hinges on that, because if he doesn't make it, he's not going to sign a new deal. It just doesn't financially make sense for him to do that. So I think what it becomes is, all right, if he makes it and doesn't sign the Supermax, then it's panic time, and it's, we got to trade this guy. We got to move on from him because it's there. My gut says he's going to make All-NBA. He'll sign the Supermax. Then we can have this conversation a year or two into that deal about his happiness level and where he wants to be. I think, too, one just kind of an aside with this is, I think when we really think about it, in the NBA, we see these guys from the time they're, 18, 19 years old, and they become so ingrained in our lives day to day. And we think that they kind of, all right, they've been around forever. They should know what they want and all this. And then I think if a lot of us looked back and said, when I was 25, 26 years old, man, I didn't have anything figured out. I was still trying to find my place in the world. And I think it's the same way with a lot of these NBA players, too.
He's Keith Smith, talking NBA. It's part of the reason why his Twitter handle is Keith Smith NBA. Spot Rack through the playoffs on Celtics blog, and you can pick him up YouTube on the NBA Front Office Show. Keith, as always, we appreciate your time and your insights. Stay safe.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Keith Smith, kind enough to join us once again here on Miller and Moulton. By the way, his picks, he put them out on Twitter last night. Celtics in a sweep over the Hawks, Sixers in 5 over the Nets, Cavs take out the Knicks in 6, Lakers over the Grizzlies in 7, Warriors over the Kings in 6. He thinks Phoenix and the Clippers go 7, but Phoenix wins. Thinks Milwaukee and Denver will roll, but some opponents may give them more problems than the others. I think Milwaukee rolls. I actually think, either OKC or Minnesota can give Denver a series.
That's 6, you mean, by series? Could win 2 games?
Exactly. Yes. Mm-hmm. Like New Orleans did last year. They came out of the play-in. They came out of the 9-10, actually, made it as the 8th seed, and took Phoenix, who won 64 games, to 6. That's a series. Especially since the 6, it was 2-2. Man, that's a series.
Absolutely. Miller and Moulton, thanks so much for listening right here on the Florida Sports Network. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Apparently, Adam, the Jets and Packers haven't talked in like 2 weeks. I'm wondering if they just have it worked out. And what we talked about, where the Packers, financially, it benefits them to have it happen after June 1st. Yeah, it's going to get done. Of course it's going to get done. No, I do not think he makes them a Super Bowl contender, but I think they have to upgrade the offensive line.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Edgar Thompson, Orlando Sentinel. He covers the Gators. And it's been a very eventful 5-6 days in Gainesville, involving a lot of sports on and off the field. Spring football games tonight, by the way. I will say, Mark, Billy Napier, head coach of the Gators, he is on record as saying he would be in favor of the spring games becoming like, let's play some schools that we would not normally schedule for one reason or another. Like, how about we play Troy or UAB? Like, that's being talked about in Alabama a lot, because Alabama and Auburn won't play Troy and UAB. They're not wanting to help an in-state school become, bigger.
Right. They don't want to give them any money. Don't want to give them,
Right.
because you pay those teams
Right.
to come beat up on them, and they don't want to give UAB any money or Troy any money.
Right. But how about a spring game? How about in April? And we sell tickets, and obviously the games would be played at Tuscaloosa and Auburn. But, there's talk in that state about, hey, how about at least do it as a spring game? It's far more interesting, and actually think that everybody, fans included, would get more out of it. What do you say? And
fans would definitely win. I'm surprised to hear coaches would want to do that.
Well, some coaches are totally against it. They want to control it, and they're trying to limit the risk of injury and what have you. And I have to admit, Nick, to me, would seem like a guy who'd be in favor of it. I don't know what because Nick believes you play guys, and if they get hurt, they get hurt. That's just his feeling.
My only reason Nick would be against it is that he likes his ones to play against his ones. It's the most competition they get until they play Georgia in the SEC championship.
But, they had the 12 spring practices, if you know what I mean. Do you really need to have another charade?
I got you. Just having a little fun there.
No. That was a good line. No, it's a good line. I hope I didn't jump in too quickly so that people did not appreciate how good of a line it was. But you said yesterday that the spring football thing has peaked.
Oh, definitely. I mean, there was a couple of years ago that these games were all on. They were selling out everywhere, huge numbers. ESPN couldn't wait to televise these spring games.
And they still will to some degree, but you're right. And their announcers would be officials in the game, and they'd mic them up, and it's a big thing. And now it kind of feels like, the Major League Baseball All-Star game. Yeah, this is cute.
Or Major League Baseball spring training.
Yeah, there you go.
Even more so, where I'm expecting players to be running in the outfield during the game.
So, wouldn't you like to see, I don't know, pick the school if you're a Gators fan? I mean, wouldn't you want to see, particularly since supposedly you have a quarterback battle going on? Although I can't imagine, put it this way, if the kid from Wisconsin can't win, Mertz can't be the quarterback, then he sucks. And the Gators are in a heap of trouble. But, I mean, I'd be interested, quite frankly. I would be interested if Florida was playing, I don't know, South Florida. Georgia Southern. Don't know if, although, I don't necessarily want to play a school if they've got a funky offense.
I know.
But yes.
But
yeah.
UCF wouldn't do it.
No, UCF wouldn't do it. It'd be interesting if South Florida would do it. If I was them, I would. I'll get eyeballs. I'll get people paying attention. If, obviously you're not going to do it with them if they're on the schedule. And I don't believe the Gators are on South Florida's schedule this year. Alabama is, by the way. Week 3 in Tampa. Tickets available. But if I was South Florida, particularly early on
Sign me up.
Yeah, I'm telling you, South Florida season ticket package this year is pretty good. And it's the week after Bama hosts Texas. It's week 3. It's right before conference season really gets going. And that's like September 16th, I think, something like that.
This is the first moment we've had to reflect on what Dalton Miller said. And he said it to us before, so it didn't surprise us. But the text that came in, we do have to acknowledge that Dalton Miller did say that he believes Richardson has the highest ceiling of any quarterback in this draft, and he's been that way for months.
He actually thinks his ceiling is so high that he could be up there with Mahomes. He even said, I dare say he could be better.
And trust me, the text line gets inundated with Gator fans going, who the hell is this guy and what is he thinking?
Did you watch him play?
There are 5 texts that say, does he watch tape? What is the tape he is watching? I want to see this guy.
But we said it, and we compared it to the industry that we're in. I was in local television for a long time. Your tape was 8 to 12 minutes. You can put together 8 really good minutes. Everybody actually has it. They do. Now, they may not have 9 good minutes, but you can put together 8 and get a gig off of it. Anthony Richardson's tape, you put the LSU game in, you put the Tennessee game in, you put the Utah game in. Okay? And you go, I'm all over this guy. Put the Georgia tape in, put the Kentucky tape in. Then you go, oh, snap. I don't know. So, you can put a tape together of Anthony Richardson in which he wins the Heisman. It's 8 to 12 minutes, but it's tremendous.
And obviously the speed he possesses, all of the intangibles are there from a physical standpoint. Every one of them. He throws the ball a mile. He's faster than all get up. He's tall. He's thick. He's strong. Miller and Moulton are not in the same camp as Dalton Miller.
No, we would not take the risk. We wouldn't. We get it. Which part of Josh Allen is he going to be? Is he going to be the first 2 years with the Bills, Josh Allen? I mean, people forget heading into year 3, they went out and got Diggs, but people around the league were going, I don't know if Josh Allen's a number 1 quarterback.
His completion percentage numbers through 2 years didn't look like he was an NFL quarterback. They were pedestrian at best.
Yeah, they were mid-50s, which is just what he was at Wyoming in college. And the train of thought is if you're not accurate on Saturdays, you're not going to be accurate on Sundays. And 2 years in, it was kind of like, well, Josh Allen's a hell of an athlete. Seems like a good dude. I want him to work out, but I don't know if this is going to work out. And all of a sudden, year 3, get him a number 1 wide receiver.
And an off-season transformation where they changed mechanics, and he worked very hard at changing how he delivers the football. And it all came together in year 3.
And he's completing in the low 70 percentile all of a sudden. And now he's one of the 5 best quarterbacks in the league, without a doubt. If not 3 best. Which Anthony Richardson are you going to get? And Miller and Moulton in this, and we'll take a lot of risks. Okay, but we are not taking this risk. And if it ends up burning us, well, okay. Well, we ain't doing it. 13 starts too. Oh man, that scares them. I know Cam only had, 14, 15 at Auburn, but man, oh man, it scares me.
Right, because most of Cam's were unbelievable.
Yeah, they were.
You were looking at a limited amount of starts, but you were looking at unlimited potential. Here you see unlimited potential in a handful of starts, and you see disaster in some others. Absolute disaster.
The other thing is that he had trouble staying on the field. He'd hamstring here and a nick here. I mean, I don't know. We're not going to take the leap. And it could come back and burn us in a huge way. This could be, remember, Mahomes went 10th. Deshaun went after him. This could be a huge mistake for a bunch of teams.
And we really won't find out, I don't think, until year 3. This is going to be a development type of situation the same way it was with Josh Allen, no matter when he gets on the field. Edgar Thompson to talk Gators. That's next on Miller and Moulton. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're gonna have to go around and get it.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
I will say, Gator Dad, John Elway didn't take Stanford to a bowl. So, but yeah, we're not. He scares us. If I'm going to lose my career, I'm just going to lose it with somebody different. Loved when they came in with the bucket of Kentucky Fried instead of the live chicken and said, "We'll just do." That movie's 34 years old. How long did it take you when you watched it to realize that they're not filming it in Cleveland? That all the baseball scenes are at County Stadium in Milwaukee?
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes before the hour. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network. Thanks so much for being with us. Edgar Thompson's kind enough to join us once again. He covers the Gators for the Orlando Sentinel, which is why his Twitter handle is OS Gators. OS Gators. Edgar, it's David and Mark. Thanks for agreeing to do this again. How are you?
Oh, happy to do it. Thanks for having me. Doing fine. Up here in Gainesville.
We made the statement earlier in the show that we think the last 5-6 days have been the best week, if you will, for the Florida athletic department since the pandemic. Between gymnastics, the baseball, big series, beating the Knowles, the success that the basketball team's having in the portal, the success that Napier is having in the 2024 recruiting class, and then the big announcement in the last 24 plus hours about, redoing NIL. We think that this is the best stretch that this athletic department has had, maybe even under Scott Strickland. Are we overstating it?
Well, it's definitely, they have some momentum that they haven't had. I don't know if it's, Scott got here in November of 2016. So they went to an Elite Eight in 17, and they won a couple of New Year's Six Bowls in 18, 19 seasons. But, that wasn't all in 1 week. So they've had some, pockets of success, but there's been a lot of struggle that Florida's not used to having. The brand's taken a hit, for sure. On the field and even off the field with the Jaden Rashada situation, with the NIL deal. That was that massive NIL embarrassment they had back there at the turn of the year. So, it's been a good week for sure, and it could get better. The gymnastics team begins its quest for a national title today in Fort Worth, as you mentioned, number 2 in the nation. The problem there, Trinity Thomas is iffy, and she's their star. And without her, it's a big ask to win. In fact, I wrote a profile on Trinity today, and she's like as good a representative and as successful as any athlete on this campus. But yeah, I mean, basketball, they nailed it with a couple of recruits. I really like this Micah. I wouldn't even try to pronounce his name, Haggleton, maybe, but he's 7'1" Marshall kid, young, probably a little raw, tons of upside. And then Walter Clayton, the Lake Wales kid, who could transfer from Iona, they beat out Rick Pitino for. He tried to get him to come to St. John's and follow him. I think that was a big get. I think he's going to be productive immediately. And that's a team coming off of kind of a tepid season that ended up being a losing one. And then Billy, tonight's a spring game. He gets to showcase the program. And I think he's gotten a bigger, deeper, more talented roster in the last, few months. So certainly they're trending in the right direction, but, a lot of ground to make up still.
How bad was the fallout from the Gator Collective and the Rashada, and how much has it changed just in 24 hours with their 48 hours with Gator victorious or with Florida victorious coming to the forefront?
Time will tell how this really changes things, but it certainly changes the conversation and shifts it away. And I think the conversation about Rashada had pretty much ended. But while it was happening, oh my God, I mean, it was, like I said, it was a national embarrassment. It wasn't just like, ooh, that's kind of bad. I mean, they were the laughing stock of NIL. You offer a kid, $13.8 million, who's never played a down of football, and then you don't have the money to pay it. It was like the right hand, left hand kind of thing. The Gator Collective was thinking it had a commitment from a member of the collective or two or whoever, and really didn't, and went and made a deal without really, dotting the I's and crossing the T's, which is, you don't really want to be doing that with a $13 million deal with a 19-year-old. So I don't think the school was involved at that at any level, and it kind of caught wind of it, Billy Napier, and put the kibosh on it. So, look, I think Billy has got a lot of things organizationally and his vision that are great. We just need to see the product in the field, kind of join them, because last year I thought the football product was very poor.
Edgar Thompson covers the Gators for the Orlando Sentinel. Follow him on Twitter, OS Gators. So what's different about the NIL from Florida going forward now versus, do they have a John Ruiz? Did they just bring in a new CEO and they at least can track their money now? What is different besides the name?
Well, that's the question. I mean, there are differences for sure. I'll lay out, but I don't know if the money suddenly has changed in terms of, availability. I mean, there isn't a John Ruiz. Hugh Hathcock, Dustin businessman, very generous, very involved, very wealthy, but I don't know that he's John Ruiz in terms of like the aggressiveness and willingness and wealth. Though some might wonder about John Ruiz, like what he really has like on paper versus like liquid, but he's spending. And we know that in Miami. But what's going on here is a gentleman, Jose Costa, business is Costa Farms, horticulture business, plants and things in South Florida, which is a very tropical area. I mean, you guys live in Naples, So, or are you in Naples? Naples?
That area.
Yeah. So sorry if I'm incorrect. But that whole area is more tropical than up here in Gainesville. So they have a thriving business for the last 60 years, founded by his father, a Cuban immigrant. He's the founder of Florida Victorious. And he has a CEO, Nate Barber. Nate Barber's educational background is quite impressive. Notre Dame mechanical engineering. He's a Harvard MBA. very smart guy, and he's going to kind of be the CEO of the whole operation. And what they're doing, they have a successful businessman, a very smart business, thinker, together running this thing, and they are bringing everything under one umbrella because they have a corporation or NIL entity, I guess I should call it, FAST, F-A-S-T. It's an acronym. I don't have it in front of me for what it is, but they rewarded, dozens of players in football and softball with some NIL deals. Then you had the Gator Collective, which was had worked with hundreds of athletes even eventually. But those were, some real good deals, some like lesser deals, whatever. I'm just saying, like, let's say a sub shop or whatever. I don't know that was a deal, but you know what I mean? Something. And then you had the Gator Guard, which is Hugh Hathcock, which is like the money club. Like, it's like the difference between belonging to like Seminole Golf Club and, playing at the local muni. And that was $1 million buy-in, very exclusive, very, finite number of members. So you had these three entities, and there might have been others. Well, now this is it. This is the one entity. Gator Collective no longer exists. Gator Guard doesn't exist anymore. Hathcock's on the advisory board with this Florida Victorious. So you're going to keep everything in one place. There's not going to be this whole who's doing what, competing agendas, conflicting ideas. At least that's the plan. So we'll see how it works, in practice.
Do we have any idea how many football scholarship athletes are getting paid something for NIL?
A large number of them, but no. And that's one of the things, transparency. Now, do I want people knowing my salary? Do you guys want that? I mean, does everyone want their salary public? Probably not. I'm not hiding anything, but most people don't just broadcast that stuff unless you're like a professional athlete or maybe entertainers and things like that. But these guys are entertainers and they're athletes, and now they're really kind of professional. So that's the question, is should that stuff be out there? Because young men and women are receiving a lot of money, in some cases. And certainly in football, I hear that there's monthly stipends going to players that are pretty significant, like surprisingly significant. So, and to keep a guy from going in the portal, they are receiving a large amount of money, or to come here in the portal, a large amount of money, or that if you come, we're going to set you up and, with these deals and this, that, and the other. And I'm not even sure what they're necessarily doing for these deals. Maybe they're doing some appearances. Maybe they're signing some autographs. I don't know what they're doing, but it's not in a lot of cases, it doesn't seem like a lot. These young men in football get out in the community, some of them more than others, with food banks and things like that. And I read to kids at schools. I'm not saying they don't do anything. I don't know that that's collective driven, but some of these guys are great within the community for sure. But I don't know what they're doing to get paid. There's just no transparency, guys. So, and you know that, and so it creates this confusion about what's what.
Spring game tonight. I have to admit, as somebody who's neutral about the Gators, is there really a battle at quarterback, or is Billy just being polite and wanting to make it so that Jack Miller doesn't transfer? Because Edgar, if Graham Mertz isn't the starter, then based on what we've seen of Jack Miller, then he ain't very good.
Calculated more than polite, yeah, because he doesn't need Jack Miller hitting the portal for the second time. But see, I don't know what the rule even is there. If Jack Miller hits the portal, having transferred here from Ohio State in December of 2021, is he eligible immediately if he goes somewhere? I think not, unless you get a waiver. But that's another story. Jack and Graham, according to Billy, because we do not get a lot of access to watch practice, are locked in a battle at quarterback. And I was kind of pressing him a little, like, Graham comes here from Wisconsin, 32 starts, senior. He's expecting to start, right, Billy? well, we're not really ready to publicly declare anything there. So maybe privately there's an understanding, or within the team or the coaching staff, or even among or between Billy or among Billy, Jack, and Graham. It's Graham's job to lose. But let's be fair to Jack Miller. Jack Miller had a broken hand last year, broken thumb. I don't think he was ever really healthy. And by the time he got to that bowl game, he was rusty and then some, and was playing with the skeleton's crew around him as a team. Guys that opted out, Ascience Torrance among others, you know, the All-American guard. And it was pretty evident that right side of the line was getting crushed by Oregon State in what was a bloodbath of a game. But, yeah, I mean, Graham Mertz, you got to think. I mean, he has pretty good pedigree, too. He's a highly recruited kid. Now, did he live up to that at Wisconsin? Not really. 38 touchdowns, 26 picks, about a 58.9% completion percentage. Those aren't like wow numbers. They need to improve. But was that Wisconsin's offense? Is that a supporting cast? Is that weather related? Who knows at times? Who knows? I mean, here he's going to have a different, cast of characters around him, better weather, and maybe an offense that fits him better. I don't know. He is getting rave reviews for his leadership, his understanding of the offense. If he's more accurate, can make line checks adeptly, and do some things that Anthony Richardson wasn't great at consistently, the offense can be better, I think. The run game, if the offensive line comes together, and that's an if, but could be really good. And Billy loves to run the football and play that kind of style. And if Graham Mertz, can just keep some drives sustained that Anthony couldn't, you might have a better offense.
He's Edgar Thompson. He covers the Gators. He'll be working tonight at the spring game. He covers them for the Orlando Sentinel, and that's where you follow him on Twitter, OS Gators. Edgar, thanks for your time. Get some rest. You'll be working late tonight. Thanks.
Hey, thank you, guys. Take care.
Edgar Thompson, kind enough to join us once again here on Miller and Moulton. And for the many Gator fans out there, hopefully fill in some blanks.
Definitely fill in some blanks. What you don't want is more blanks after tonight.
Well, that's a whole other story. Aren't they replacing 4 starters on the offensive line? It's interesting that they think that they can have a better running game, because the strength of the team last year was the offensive line and running the ball.
And maybe there's a little bit of depth there. That would be a pleasant surprise for the Gators, but they've got to figure out the quarterback position. Lake City, Tampa St. Pete, Port Charlotte, and Venice. Thanks for listening. We'll do it again tomorrow morning. The bonus hour in the 239 is next. Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
The waterways of Naples are a beauty to behold, and the Bayfront Inn has multiple ways for guests to enjoy the water and have some fun. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn. Something for everyone. On 5th Avenue in Naples.
Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. All right. Mongo, thank you very much for the kind words. Now, Hops, Spies Like Us, one of the best? Really? I don't think anybody would have seen Spies Like Us unless we all had HBO as kids and were spending time home alone in the summer and watched it 47 times because it was on HBO that much. That was Aykroyd and Chevy Chase, and it was not, it had a moment or two where you laughed, don't get me wrong, but great, one of the best. I remember that, Chevy got the really hot girl in the end. She was pretty hot. I mean, all the Fletch, Spies Like Us, Seems Like Old Times, another great Chevy Chase movie with Goldie Hawn and Charles Grodin. That was just fantastic. More of a rom-com, but still funny. That horrible War Games movie with Matthew Broderick, that was on 6 million times also. Was it called? I think it was called War Games. Would you like to play a game? Is it really? Beautiful woman, or was.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
It is the bonus hour, Miller and Moulton, on this Thursday. Thanks for being with us, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. If you're just joining us, well, we had a good show. I mean, you could maybe download it at a later date and time as to, what you missed. But, we talked a little NBA last hour with Keith Smith, talked Gators last hour with Edgar Thompson, talked plenty of football midway through the 7 o'clock hour. With our folks at Pro Football Network. I mean,
And the baseball hour had baseball because the Rays will not lose ever.
12-0. They tie the 82 Braves. Now they're trying to tie the 87 Brewers, who opened the season winning their first 13. 4 hours from now, try to complete the 4-game sweep against the Red Sox. They've got the pitching matchup, too. Young lefty who's yet to give up a run in 2 starts this year, going against Corey Kluber, whose ERA is around 7 in his 2 starts this year.
Day baseball, the only thing that can compete with the British Open in my world, David.
Wednesday and Thursday are getaway days. That's when you get your day baseball. Tell you what, play hooky. 12-0, for goodness sakes. 110 start. Let's go. Let's do this. If I could get the first pitch, by first pitch, I think seriously about doing it. I can't even get the first pitch.
This is where if you were still in the 239, we'd be going.
Totally.
This is where I miss you. And I mean, we do the show. We talk to each other every day. Not much is different in our lives with you being in Jacksonville and me being in Estero. But if you were in the 239,
done.
We'd be leaving at 10:05. We'd be going to Ferg's, having a little lunch, having a beer or two, and going to the game. It'd be done.
Done. Absolutely, positively done. And we'd stay through at least the 7th inning stretch. And then we'd head home.
We'd be staying the whole game because
I know.
You're so fast.
I'm just saying, if you're thinking about traffic and or, wanting to get back, that sort of deal. But I think, we'd be there at least 2 hours, get through the 7th inning stretch, bada bing, bada boom, and see where we're at. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. How can you not?
And the few Sox fans that I know are disgusted with their team, so getting to talk them into go see in Boston right now is not easy.
Heck, it's not easy in Boston. Have you seen all the empty seats at Fenway?
I have.
Now, granted, the weather hasn't helped. They started a week earlier than usual and the whole deal. I think that has played a role. Haven't had the sexiest of teams come through yet either, but still. I mean, it didn't matter not that long ago. It was just Red Sox playing, sold out. Period. Done. Sold out. Go to the secondary market. Hope you can get in for, I don't know, $50. Now, heck, you can get 2 seats for that.
And the early games, they sell tickets for $10 to the Rays games today?
Just, man, oh, man. I mean, bring your credit card, though, right? No cash.
Yeah, they don't take cash. And David, you and I are we are the last two. I went grocery shopping yesterday and paid with cash, and the total came to $24.73. And I handed her $25, and she paused. And I didn't say anything. I didn't look, but you could see the look of panic on her face when I reached into my wallet and pulled up my money clip and started trying to peel off money because she's like, oh no, I'm going to have to make change.
So apparently there's something, if you're working the register, you then have to hit a button or two to set up the credit card thing for payment. You just, so that this way it works and the register accepts it and what have you. So they are so in the habit, because nobody pays with cash anymore, that, you ring it up and what have you, and then the register person just goes boom, boom, hits the button, and even turns the card thing around for you sometimes. Kind of like, here you go, you're ready. Well, Mark, I pay with cash. I went yesterday. Had a bunch of items too. I was gearing up with the water and the Gatorade Zero. So, a lot of bags, a lot of plastic bags, a lot of items, but it's cheap. Bottled water is less than $1, and the Gatorade Zeros, they got a 2-for deal. So, it was only like 43 something and change, even though I had like 2 dozen items. And I whip out, like two 20s and a 5. And the guy literally looked at me like, "You're paying cash?" And he kind of sighed, and then he had to like undo what he did, because it was set up for me to pay with a credit card. And I looked right at him because I was just in that kind of a mood. And I said, "Hey, I bagged the stuff myself. The money's still good, right?"
Always a charmer.
Yep.
Always a charmer.
Yep.
Well, one of my favorite places that I've been going to down here forever, and I don't know when they did it. I don't know if it was in the pandemic, if it was after. I just noticed the last time I was there, and typically I order online, so I pay ahead of time. I just go pick up my stuff, and it's already paid for. But I noticed when I was in there the last time, they quit taking cash, and it's a little mom and pop type place. I'm like, what are you doing not accepting cash? How are you supposed to scam some money without accepting cash?
But you're right. We're just about the last
dinosaurs.
We are. By the way, if we were a dinosaur, what would you be? What would you be? Stegosaurus? Tyrannosaurus Rex?
Well, there's no way I'd be a T-Rex. I'm not that tough. If there's probably the smaller, mouthier, aggressive one that would end up getting eaten by the T-Rex. That's probably what I'd be. I wouldn't be any sort of you'd think the Brontosaurus, but that just eats plants, and that's not where we're at.
Right. I have to admit, I never liked the Stegosaurus. The whole plates on their back there. It wasn't a good look. Check it out. They look like plates.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I think I'd like to be a raptor.
Okay.
Quick, agile. Just keep me away from the T-Rex. They'd eat me.
Is this where we transition to the Raptors losing last night? Huh? And because of it, Miami will host Chicago tomorrow night. Apparently, there was a concert planned. I don't know the act, but apparently folks in South Florida are the concert had to get moved to Sunday because the Heat, because they lost, have to play Friday night. And they couldn't play tonight. It'd be unfair to the Bulls. So, it's one travel day off, blah, blah, blah. So that's why there's no NBA tonight. The teams that won on Tuesday, they're going to play over the weekend. The teams that won yesterday, they have to travel and play Friday. So there's no NBA tonight.
A little bit of NHL. Panthers in a game that matters.
Yeah, even though they're in.
If they win tonight against Carolina, they avoid the Bruins. That's as simple as it comes.
Correct. They'll play either Carolina or New Jersey.
But Carolina's not going to lay down because they're still playing for winning their division and getting to play a wild card. New Jersey and Carolina are a point apart. Carolina leading by a point right now. Right. Jersey on the road taking on Washington tonight. So couple of NHL games with some significance in seeding, but the playoffs have been determined in both conferences.
Correct. All 16 teams have been determined. It's the seeding that is still very much up in the air. Do you think, by the way, the NHL should go back to, back in the day, late 70s into the very early 80s, they just seeded them 1 through 16.
I remember like that. I would like it to be 1 through 8 in the conferences, period.
Okay, so you'd rather
1 through 8, 1 plays 8, 2 plays 7. My son's a much bigger NHL fan than I am now, and we've been talking about this a lot. They wanted to get after that 1 through 16 when they went right back in the divisions. They wanted to try to create rivalries. I don't know if this has created any rivalries.
Well, based on how they played the other night, it looks like Toronto and Tampa Bay have developed a little something. Just saying. Here's the funny thing. They don't schedule in the regular season to create rivalries because division teams play each other as little as 3 times. So they don't, like the Rangers and the Devils played 3 times this year, or the Rangers and the Islanders, I think, played 3 times. I think the Rangers and Devils played 4. I mean, the games that like their fans want to see. But it's important that Nashville come to town.
Well, I hear you. I'm so sick of hearing you say that. Everybody should play everybody twice. You don't want, so Nashville just doesn't get any good games. They don't get to play the Rangers. They don't get to play the Red Wings. They don't get to, come on. You don't want every team to play everybody. You want a league in which New Jersey plays New York 14 times. I think that's ridiculous.
Okay, fine. Everybody plays everybody twice. And so you do get to see Connor McDavid once he comes to your barn.
Thank you.
And that's fine. That's 58 games. Or no, the hockey's got 32 now. So that's 62 games. You still got 20 extra games. Okay, now could we schedule some rivalries here? We got 20 games to play with. Okay, now let's load up. Seriously, like to me, I don't want there are 2 divisions in each conference, and they want to seemingly treat both divisions as if they're equal. No. I don't care about the other division. The other division might as well be the Western Conference. No. I got 20 games now to play with. Let's divvy it up amongst the teams in my division. The problem is, Mark, the divisions are too big. They really are. All right. This whole 8 teams in a division, okay, it's too much because half the division doesn't give a damn about the other half of the division. There's just too many teams. But you're right. We like the fact that they're trying to create some rivalries in making you go through your division in the playoffs, but they don't schedule in the regular season to try to create those rivalries or enhance them. Come on, Lightning and Panthers. If you're the NHL and you want this to be a thing, don't you have to play 6 times?
Yes. But you're going to have to get to more divisions.
Okay.
You're going to have to figure out a way to go to 6. I don't know what I don't know how you solve this, but you've got to play everybody twice. You cannot have a league in which Connor McDavid doesn't go to every arena every year. I'm sorry.
All right. Fair enough. That was the thought in the NBA. Back in the day, Magic and Larry, Celtics and Lakers, they only played twice. It's still the same. They ain't playing any more times now than they were 40 years ago.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6 and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around and get it.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
The waterways of Naples are a beauty to behold, and the Bayfront Inn has multiple ways for guests to enjoy the water and have some fun. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill, the Bayfront Inn. Something for everyone. On 5th Avenue in Naples.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Might be having to come back dry here because we're going to have 15 seconds of dead air otherwise, okay?
Okay.
I'll just point.
21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Thanks so much for being with us. Good, bad, and ugly. What's on tap? Today was the day when, along with our final thoughts coming up in a little less than 20 minutes time. Did you see where the young lady who is credited with inventing the mini skirt has died?
I did not. Thank you, by the way.
Mary
The
Quant.
adolescent Mark Miller really thanks you.
Mary Quant, Quant. All right. Considered a visionary fashion designer. All right. And first over in London with the mini skirts of the mid 60s. All right. She was 93 years old.
A mini skirt today would be considered a lot of clothing.
Yes. That's a dadgum good point.
That's all I'm saying.
What the heck is this? What do you expect me to do with this? Wear it? So apparently it was 8 inches above the knee. That's where she set the hemline there. 8 inches above the knee. Freaked the world out.
And our mothers were both wearing them, I'm sure, which should freak the both of us out.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Oh, yeah, I've seen pictures, actually. Yeah. Oh, no question about it. Mm-hmm. I think because, she was a Brit and what have you, some describe her as, her impact on fashion was the Beatles' impact on music, Mark. Of course, it was at the same time, so, that might be going a little far.
For those of you young people who can't understand where we're coming from, the miniskirt, just think yoga pants. Just think yoga pants.
So 8 inches above the knee. And yes. So lived a long life, 93 years old. Mary Quant, Quant. I know normally this is something, kind of in your segment coming up here in about 20 or so minutes, birthdays. And I could have held on to Mary Quant until, we start mentioning people who passed away on this date and all that. But I just thought
she deserved a little more time. The mini skirt needed a few more minutes. This isn't just the throwaway at the end of the show. You need a little time. This got the B segment as opposed to the C segment, the throwaway segment.
Right. I mean, there's a couple of generations of listeners right now that are going, oh, no, the mini skirt definitely deserves some time. Oh, no, appreciate you. Some people kind of going through their mental Rolodex right now. First woman that they remember who had a mini skirt, or the woman who wore a mini skirt they remember most fondly.
And the mini skirt doesn't necessarily make me think of the mini skirt. To me, it makes me, as I'm a Catholic school grad, makes me think of the god-awful skirts that they made the women, young women at Catholic schools wear. And as they would always try to get that hemline up higher and higher.
Right.
Until they got in trouble for it.
Right. With the nuns going, lower that.
So I'm going through my mental Rolodex of 7th through 12th grade of Catholic school education in which girls could hike the skirt up the highest and get away with it.
By the way, uglier. The, plaid, checkered, whatever they were, skirts in Catholic school back in the day, or the jacket that they give away this weekend at the RBC Heritage to the winner.
Well, they resemble one another so much. One was just on the bottom in a lighter color. But David, I'm sorry, the adolescent in me still at this day is going, what are you knocking the Catholic school uniform for? Are you out of your mind right now? I have 3 of them at home. Every once in a while, I tell the wife to put one on for me. What the hell are you talking about?
Oh, it's really something when you're walking around the house in it. But that's, that's
dog's giving me a couple different looks with that one. But
it's crazy things happen on Saturdays. Make it happen day. Anything is possible. But thought Mary Quant was deserving of a moment there. Miller and Moulton here on the Florida Sports Network, Florida Sports Network.
Transition that one, big boy.
Well, what I was going to transition to is, there's a lot of golfers. There's two things that have been discussed since the Masters. One is Patrick Cantlay's pace of play, and he defended his slow play on Sunday. And I'm telling you, I think baseball is playing a role in this. I really do. I think it's forcing, never mind, clearly there are golfers that are annoyed. I mean, I understand Augusta's not an easy course, and it was windy and the pressure and the whole deal. Should a twosome take 4 hours and 45 minutes to play around the golf?
No. Never.
Twosome.
David, never. The answer to that is never.
And I think if you're running this sport, if you're a TV network running this sport, I mean, I threw it out there last week and people mocked me, and I get it. But is the pace of play in golf so slow that golf needs to consider doing something radical like baseball has just done? And just say, you know what? All right, you can use carts. When you really think about it, these rounds shouldn't take more than 3 hours. Let's go. And if you guys want to, fatoots around and spend, more than 45 seconds lining up the shot and what have you, well, fine, because we got you there in 13 seconds instead of 7 minutes. So, I'll give you an extra 15 seconds around the shot for your pre-shot routine and what have you. Because supposedly, Mark, they're supposed to only get 45 seconds.
Well, it's like baseball in that there's always been a clock. Always. It's just not enforced. And what David is suggesting is jumping one of the rules for another. I'm not even saying you're wrong. I would like to see these sports, all of them, instead of having to go radical, just enforce the damn rules that are there first.
All I know is that if I'm CBS and NBC, which are the two big channels left covering golf, sorry, CW, that, I mean, look, can we pick up the pace here? Please? Please? I mean, I'll still run the same ads, but I'd like to be able to show more golf. I'm showing way too much guys walking, lining up shots.
And I don't know how much that changes because around the greens is where these guys can get drastically slow.
Well, I mean, Mark, does a clock need to be brought out? I mean, honestly, does somebody need to have a portable shot clock in which, okay, it's your turn, boom, you're on the clock, and they press the button?
All I'm thinking right now is Phoenix. Could you imagine what the crowd would be doing to these guys if there were a clock?
10, 9, they would literally do the countdown.
Right, and they might even pull off the college basketball where they might start counting it early if they didn't like the guy.
But I mean, in tennis, they have a clock in between points. I think it's 25 seconds. Some places a buzzer goes off, and some places the referee says delay of game, warning. And eventually they take a point away. Let's move this sucker along. Just a thought.
It's a good thought, and the tour would do it before the majors would. And I don't know how interested the tour is in doing it right now. They would need what you talked about, David. I think they would need pressure from their television network partners because the tour is not interested in speeding this up any. It's not at the beginning of their talking points. It's not in the middle of their talking points. It's not at the end of them. They don't ever bring this up. So does Cantlay's rain delay of a performance over the weekend get people at the PGA offices to start talking about this? I don't know. Miller and Moulton, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Today was the day when what's on tap. That's how we finish things out in the bonus hour right here on the Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth. that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just worked with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6 and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
The waterways of Naples are a beauty to behold, and the Bayfront Inn has multiple ways for guests to enjoy the water and have some fun. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn. Something for everyone. On 5th Avenue in Naples.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
By the way, Adam, the PGA Tour and they could change their penalty with Phil. I mean, who was it who was talking about it the other day in which they said, I think a year's suspension is enough. And then after that, I think, they should be allowed back. I mean, the PGA Tour can undo this at any time.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"22 minutes till the top of the hour, 16 until we're out of here." Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Felipe is scheduled to return tomorrow, for those that have been wondering. You're like, haven't heard him in a while. And he was supposed to be back for today's show, but he claims ran into some travel difficulties, which I will say, all right, he claims he's flying in and out of Fort Lauderdale late afternoon, early evening yesterday. Fort Lauderdale had a tornado warning.
Had 23 inches of rain.
Right.
In like a 4-hour span or something like that. I mean, ridiculous.
Right. So, claims he was stuck in Houston, couldn't get back. We both took the high road, didn't point out that there are direct flights from Houston to Fort Myers.
I don't know if we took the high road because neither of us returned a text message to him.
Well, I think
completely ghosted.
Yes, do you think if you were in his shoes, would you have gotten the feeling that they're mad at me?
Yes.
What level of disgust with me would you have felt if the situation were reversed and you were texting your employer and they weren't responding to you?
Well, here's the thing. He knew where I stood on this before vacation. So
you mean the vacation he doesn't have time to take?
And the replacement he didn't get to fill in for himself.
Right.
His one obligation to us is to have someone do the job I'm doing now. So he was already on my naughty list, if you know what I mean.
He was in your doghouse. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. And tomorrow he's going to have his little smirky grin and a lot of hair. And he's going to be sitting there going, "Hey, how you doing?" And I'm going to walk right past him and not say a word. And I'm probably just going to walk into the control room and set up as if I was doing the show myself again.
And he was Bert on Soap. He's invisible. You can't see him.
Yes.
He talks to you and you don't acknowledge him.
That's my plan for right now. If I were him, I would have a big bottle of bourbon for his boss tomorrow to thank him for doing what he's done for a week. That's all I'm saying. And I'm not expecting it.
No.
But I do think the two different texts that he sent yesterday, getting zero response from either of us,
right,
I believe has sent a message.
Correct. I think you should hit him.
I want to take back this segment, if for no other reason than to stop David from talking about Meghan and Harry. Here's Mark Miller with Today Was the Day When.
Would it be out of line if you walk in, because he gets there first, you walk in tomorrow morning, you just open up the door to his little room there, and you hand him an invoice, okay, for what he normally gets paid for a week's worth of shows, and you just say to him, "Hey, we're getting paid today or tomorrow. Here's what you owe me." Okay, but you don't say anything. Just hand him the invoice.
I like where your head's at with that.
And then go and sit on your side of the glass.
I definitely like where your head's at with that. It's not a bad idea. All right, we start today in 1861. After 34 hours of bombardment, Fort Sumter surrenders to the Confederates and the Civil War is on. 1904, the U.S. Congress authorizes the Lewis and Clark Expo $1 gold coin. Another $1 gold coin that failed. We could never get a dollar coin in this country, David. Now we don't even use cash, so that's come and gone as well. 33 Stanley Cup final. The Rangers beat the Leafs for a 3-1 series win. It was the first best of 4 final series.
So they must have then gone what? Aggregate score?
Yes, because they were doing best of 2 before that. 1940, David. Rangers beat the Leafs again. It's why we yelled 1940 for such a long, long time.
So they're making a big deal in New York because all 5 NBA and NHL teams have made the playoffs in the same year. You got 3 hockey teams, 2 NBA teams. And so it's the first time that's happened since 1994, which is the year that the Rangers broke the curse and won their first Stanley Cup since
1940.
Also, the Knicks made the finals that year. And so, so the folks in New York, they're like, oh, it's going to be a big spring. Somebody's, making a run. Okay. All right.
42, Byron Nelson wins the Master in an 18-hole playoff over Ben Hogan. 1943, FDR dedicates the Jefferson Memorial. 1949, the Minneapolis Lakers beat the Washington Capitals to win the Basketball Association of America Finals. The next year, the BAA and the National Basketball League would merge to create the NBA.
Oh, so now we know where the A came from. The NBL got 2 of their 3 letters. Whatever the Lakers won there, they just got the 1.
Right. Hank Aaron's first game with the Milwaukee Braves was today in 1954. Pete Rose's first major league hit today was in 1963. It was a triple. Masters, 69, George Archer wins. 70, Billy Casper wins. 75, Nicklaus wins his 5th.
That's the Masters in which you see him make the putt. The Sunday pin on 16 was actually top right, and he makes the putt from where the pin normally is on Sunday on 16 from, down below, and he's Weiskopf and Miller are standing on the tee. Weiskopf with a 1-shot lead, and Jack makes the 50-footer to tie him and is dancing around the green, holding the putter up in the air.
1980, a 23-year-old Seve Ballesteros would hit the Masters. 1983, the Violent Femmes released their first album. You've all heard it, and you all like it, even though you probably don't admit it. Pete Rose gets 4,000 hits today at 84.
Playing for the Montreal Expos. He was with the Phillies through 83. They went to the World Series. Phillies did not re-sign him. They were a very old team. They had Joe Morgan, all right, a very old team, and they decided to go younger and the whole deal. And Pete was in Montreal when the Reds acquired him back to become player manager. They did so from the Expos.
Today in 86, Jack wins his 18th major, shooting 65 on the final day at Augusta.
Yes, sir.
97, Tiger at -18, setting a tournament record, wins his first major. 03, Mike Weir wins the Masters. 2008, Trevor Immelman wins the Masters, and because of it, he's now the lead analyst on CBS Golf.
Got that right.
Bubba wins in 2014, and today in 2019, Greg Popovich surpasses Lenny Wilkins to become the all-time winningest coach in NBA history. Those celebrating birthdays that are no longer with us: Thomas Jefferson, Butch Cassidy, Don Adams from Get Smart. That might just be for David and I. John Muckler, and Tony Dow, who was Wally on Leave It to Beaver. Those celebrating birthdays today: actor Rob Perlman, 73. Max Weinberg from the E Street Band is 72. Chess champion Gary Kasparov is 60. Davis Love III is 59. Sergei Gonchar is 49. Josh Gordon is 32. Gus Edwards is 28. And Lamar Jackson's 25 years old today, David.
Wait, 25? Or is he 26?
I've got 98 as his birthday.
Well, it's 25.
And that was today was the day when. What did I miss?
All right, I got 3 things. One of them, kind of little twinge in the side for you. First off, Thomas Jefferson would be 290 today. He was born today.
Yeah, we had that.
I was paying attention and everything.
Right before I said Butch Cassidy was born today, too.
Huh. Sidney Poitier won Best Actor today. First African-American to do so. 64. And Mark Fidrich died today in a truck accident. Sorry to bring that up, but, we were waxing poetically about your Tigers when you were young earlier, starting off 35-5 with the Rays off to the 12-0 start. And, so it was 14 years ago, the truck accident.
You've heard folks elsewhere mock Florida is gonna Florida. Well, Mark Miller sees it differently. He calls it the good, the bad, and the ugly. What you got, Mark?
For the good today, we just go to Cape Coral, where Darren Martini turned in his winning lotto ticket from about 4 months ago. It was worth $41 million. He took the lump sum of 24.5. Now people will be knocking on his door. I think that's what you do in that time that you wait in between, David. You just settle all your affairs, sell your place so you can go somewhere and get out of Dodge fast.
It's good to know.
For the bad, we go to Connecticut, where Joseph Tavella was charged with reckless driving. He wasn't necessarily caught by police, but he's dumb. He had a 70 Chevy Nova going 133 miles an hour down Route 7 in Norwalk, Connecticut. He was filming it with his own phone. While filming in his left hand and driving with his right hand, it was obvious with his tattoos of who he was, and he posted the live video, so he was caught via his own video. Well done. Taking stupid to the next level. And for the ugly, hoping the kids are all in school, we go to Australia, where Kip Perrin had a big day drinking. Then he ended up at the boss's house, drinking even more. Then it was time to go home. And about 2 a.m, he passed out on a bus stop. He woke up at 7, and the dream must have been pretty good, because at that point he took down his trousers and started pulling the goalie.
Oh.
The father of 2 was arrested, said it wasn't me, but CCTV footage showed him the incident in court, where he had to admit to the self-pleasuring. 7 a.m. on a bus stop. And that is the good, the bad, and the ugly on today, April the 13th, 2023.
The Rays go for 13-0 at 110 today at home. They are massive favorites, minus 250, in fact. They got a young lefty who's yet to give up a run in 13 innings this year, going up against Corey Kluber and the Sox, looking for the 4-game sweep. I'm sorry, minus 215 are the Rays. Looking for 13-0 to match the 87 Brewers. One other baseball thing I just want to note. There's 7 games today. One of them's Twins Yankees.
Take the Yankees.
Thank you. In the middle of last season, and I don't know how many games they've played since, but basically this century, the numbers were, since 2002 anyway, the Yankees in June of last year were 110-34 against the Twins. 110-34. Remember, these aren't division rivals. They play, a dozen games a year, maybe. Sometimes just 10 games against one another. They don't see one another a lot. Yankees own the Twins. Both teams have the same 8-4 record mark at the start of this series. A 4-gamer.
By the way, a little degenerate footnote, and I forgot the exact, with somebody yesterday that gave me the number, but the Yankees, when they have a winning record and they're playing a team with a winning record, the under's hitting it over 70% of the time. Just in the obscure, different little baseball notes. So pay attention to that one if you so desire.
So the play is not only the Yankees, the play is the under, which is 8.5 in the Yankees Twins. Hockey tonight, Panthers need a win to be the first wild card, which means they would avoid playing the Bruins in the opening round. So, and there's a lot at stake out west still. I mean, there's fight for division titles between Colorado and Dallas. Okay, between Edmonton and Vegas. Vegas with a point tonight clinches the overall number 1 seed out west. Seattle can catch the Kings and not be a wild card. There's a lot going on. Miller and Moulton. See you tomorrow.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're gonna have to go around again.